that Islam is false. So I want everybody to keep note of that. Any moral argument that he, David Wood, and his colleagues have used against Islam doesn't actually prove that Islam is false. Thank you very much. Now, I also want to point out that it's interesting, Ridvan's opening statement, because a video reacting to his reason for converting to Christianity. For people who don't know, he's a former atheist. And it was interesting, the arguments and reasons he gave in that video. It was something like going to the wall in Israel and feeling a burning of the bosom in his heart. And that is what got him convinced maybe that there actually is God, and then it went to this, and one thing led to another, and oh, I'm a Christian. So he didn't give any convincing reasons for becoming a Christian at that time, and I don't think we heard any good reasons today either. He mentioned and added a bunch of new claims and arguments against Islam in his rebuttal, wondering why he didn't include that in his opening statement. It's not something typical. But anyway, I'll respond to that in just a few seconds. He says that Christianity rests on revelation and history, not complicated metaphysics. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not relying on any complicated metaphysics. All I'm relying on is simple addition. 1 + 1 + 1 = 3, not 1. Ridvan didn't even barely attempt
no one's
to
doing
respond
math, bro.
to the LPT
No one's
or the
doing
logical
math.
problem
What
of
are you
the Trinity.
talking about?
All he did was gaslight, which is a professional Christian apologetic when confronted with the fact that Christians actually do believe in three gods, even if they claim that they don't.
Sure,
Oh, Jake, you're just misrepresenting the Trinity. You don't understand the Trinity. You don't have the Holy Spirit, even if I can't tell you how you misrepresented the Trinity, which is exactly what Ridvan just did in his rebuttal period. What else? He made this big to-do about, let's say, Paul claiming that 500 people saw the risen Jesus. Okay, what's the evidence for that? Paul making the claim? Oh, that's interesting. That's really convincing. He went on and on, which was shocking to me.
Actually, it is very convincing.
A common Christian mistake, that because Jesus did not have an earthly father, that this was evidence that he was more than a mere man, that he was either God or had some divine pre-existence or whatever. But by that same logic and reasoning, which is exactly the Quran's response to this ridiculous claim more than 1400 years ago, is that Adam himself had neither a father or a mother. So I guess that makes him more divine than Jesus, right? No, you don't believe that because that's a silly argument.
No one knows what you're talking about.
He went on and he went back to this Quran affirms the Gospels. I'd be happy to have a separate debate on the Islamic dilemma since your friend David Wood just got barbecue chicken here in Texas. Maybe you want to pick up the pieces that he tried to put together and have a debate after that. But I think most of you guys would be pretty bored seeing me roast him on the Islamic dilemma. So, I mean, I'm not going to waste too much time going through those points. What else did he say here? I'm just making a bunch of notes. Oh, Justin Martyr, he says, affirmed that Jesus is God. Well, yeah, I literally read a quote where he said that he's another God and Lord subject to the maker of all things. He is not the most high God. He did not believe in the doctrine of the Trinity, as the Trinitarians here do believe. Same thing with Tertullian, he didn't even attempt to touch that quote where Tertullian says that the Son was not eternal. He mentioned Quran 3:55. This is such a silly argument because, the Quran is saying that Jesus' disciples and followers will be uppermost. And notice how he sneaks in, he says, that must mean the Trinitarian Christians. Why? What is the argument for that? Well, you want to say because they're uppermost today, they're the most powerful, they're the most in number. Well, were they the most in number for the first centuries? No, they weren't. I'm writing a book on that if you want to learn. But here it is. He says attacking Paul equals attacking Jesus. How do you get that? What's the argument for that? Nothing other than just mere rhetoric. You also keep making this claim about sonship. I already had to correct your colleague David Wood that there's no problem with the word son necessarily being applied to Jesus. It's the meaning behind it. Okay, what else here? Now I'm going to move to your rebuttal period where you did this little machine gun tactic trying to give false prophecies. You say that, that there's false prophecies of yet Jewish and met Jewish. It's not a prophecy, it's a claim. If anything, you would have to say, this is a false claim. It's not a false prophecy. It claims that they exist. If you want to say that they don't exist, okay, go ahead. You said there's a hadith that says nobody will be alive after 100 years. This was not about the end times. If you look at the actual scholarly resources on this and interpretations of Muslim scholars, it's about the end of the people standing before him. The prophet prophesied actually that none of them would live more than 100 years. And the last companion to be alive died just around 100 years right after that time. Same thing with the little boy who would be alive. If you look, there are numerous hadith on this that have different wordings, and the most authentic is that it's referring to the little boy's hour, not the hour in general in terms of the end of times. You said that I strawman the Trinity. How? You didn't give any demonstration of that. You said Christians do not believe what Jake said. What did I say wrong? Christians believe that the Father is God, the Son is God, the Holy Spirit is God, the Father is not the Son is not the Holy Spirit, and the Father is not the Holy Spirit.
It's the same thing, bro.
There's only one God.
That's the straw man.
This is exactly what I said in my opening statement. There are three divine persons. Each is fully God, as Michael Jones pointed out in his last debate. They don't believe in...
Pretty good. Just trying to do a little exercise. How you doing, man?
Partialism, that each person is a part of God. They are each fully God. They're not each other, and yet they're only one God. Well, the normal way in which we would count, the same way that we would count Peter, James, and John, each who are human and are not the same human because they're different from each other, they count as three human beings. But Ridvan's Turkish saint Gregory of Nyssa, in response to this dilemma, oh, well, if we say that there are three human beings, Peter, James, and John, then doesn't that give us license to say that the Trinity is actually three gods?
No.
His response was to say, no, Peter, James, John
it's the
are
same person,
only
bro.
one man.
With three definitions.
So to justify polytheism, he said that there is only one man sitting in this room. If that's convincing you, be my guest. You said that I didn't bring evidence. Well, actually, you made the claim that many of the early Christians, including Justin Martyr, believed in the triune God, but not the Trinity. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. You say they believe in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. They didn't believe in what you believe, okay? You said, well, I didn't present any evidence for that. In fact, I did. I presented scholars from your early community, Justin Martyr and Tertullian, who I showed were not actually Orthodox Trinitarians. Again, I never said they were Muslims. They certainly didn't believe what I believe, but they damn sure didn't believe what you either. You again made that claim about sonship. I already addressed that. 1 minute. The other point was you didn't first of all, you didn't respond to my argument about the false prophecies of Jesus in the New Testament in Matthew chapter 16. You didn't respond to the failed prophecy from Joseph from the Old Testament. So there are a number of different things that you didn't respond to. Maybe you didn't have enough time, but we'll see if you get it in the next rebuttal. And you also didn't address my second point, which I made about the prophet knowing the lineage of Jonah, which wouldn't have been known around the people of his time, and he didn't have access to the Bible as he couldn't read and write. Look forward to your response.
All right, thank you for that. We'll now jump into the 5-minute rebuttal, starting with AP. Time will start your first word.
Moving day. You've got options. Let United handle the hassle. Simple booking, qualified.
Shut up. Shut up, bitch.
Campus with
Trying to channel my inner Rock Johnson. Rock Johnson. Bring the rock.
right, so this is kind of interesting, very hostile, but also very funny. He says, I said, who cares about genocide? Who cares if God commits genocide? Is this what I said? That's not what I said. I said, in what way is this relevant to the question of whether Christianity is true or Islam is true? Similarly, I brought up very fairly that Muhammad was a very, very messed up and problematic person, and just because we say that, that doesn't mean we're therefore saying that Islam is decisively false. He made a big deal out of this and acted as if I had said for years that that Islam is morally problematic and therefore Islam is false. I challenge him to find me only one single example where I have ever said that Islam is false because of this and this and this moral problem. I've never made that claim. I've literally never made that. Of course, he will now come and say, oh, then why have you been talking trash about Islam all these years? I have been talking trash about Islam because Islam has a lot of problems. But I have never, ever said, in fact, I have denied this very often. When people said Islam can't be true because of this moral issue, I said, no, we shouldn't be evaluating it by looking at moral issues, although those moral issues are the main problem why we are criticizing it and opposing it. We are evaluating the truth and falsehood of something by completely different standards, such as the revelation and whether it speaks the truth or not. So Jake is lying about me, and he can't even represent my position correctly, which is very, very interesting to me. He says that he reviewed my reason for converting. I actually never made a proper video on why I converted because I always thought that if I want to talk about this in detail, I should collect myself and one day lay all of this down. Although I may have in some live stream discussed that I have become a Christian and what somehow led me to it, but I've never actually sat down and done that. So he's analyzing something that never happened. When it comes to the Trinity, and this is just the most disappointing part, I clearly explained to him here why there is no logical problem. I clearly explained why there is no logical incoherence. He didn't listen to a single thing. He didn't address anything that I said about it. He simply depicted it as hand-waving, as me saying, oh, you don't have the Holy Spirit. Did I ever do such a thing? And I clearly addressed the issue by addressing that there is no logical problem with it, which apparently he didn't listen to because he doesn't pay attention. He says that Jesus being born of a virgin doesn't make him the Son of God because there is another person who was born without father, and that was Adam.
That's wrong. Adam and Eve?
Adam is the first human, the first creation. Aside from Adam, who is naturally created without father or mother, every single person in history is born as a result of the union of a father and a mother. Every single person in history is born of a mother by an earthly father, except for Jesus. Why? I've shown it right there. The scholarly consensus on this is very, very clear. I've talked about this with so many people. The only reason, even for those who say that the virgin birth was a later invention or a later thing to talk about, even among those, everybody agrees that the entire point of the virgin birth is that within the context and the culture, this very, very clearly shows that if you do not have an earthly father, then you are the son of the divine. You are the son of God. You are something beyond this world. Which is why every single group that has ever claimed that Jesus was born of a virgin always proclaimed that he is the divine son of God. Islam also claims that he was born of a virgin, but it doesn't make any sense. Why in the world is that the miracle that is given to Jesus? Muslims simply adopted a Christian narrative that only exists so that people may know that he is the Son of God. But they have no idea why they adopted it, which is why it's so difficult for him to explain. Which is why he has to go to something as ridiculous as, oh, Adam also didn't have a father and a mother. He doesn't seem to understand the point that I made very early, and considering that he has ignored basically everything I said, I guess I can simply focus on this here more. He says that I said attacking Paul is basically like attacking Jesus, but I didn't explain it. Excuse me, I lengthily explained it. I think it was actually a little bit over-explained. I talked about it for several minutes. I laid out very, very clearly how important Paul is and how if you attack Paul, you are attacking Peter by extension, and by attacking Peter, you are attacking Jesus by extension. This is very clear. I laid out the logic. I didn't say if you attack Paul, you're just attacking Jesus. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. Never happened. I have brought up repeatedly that every single authoritative, respected early Christian follower, every single respected church father has agreed that Jesus is God, that he is the Son. They agree that God is triune. They may not have agreed entirely or directly laid out the Trinity as it was codified and laid out at the Council of Nicaea, but they unanimously believed in the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. The entire point of this is that when he makes the claim that the Trinity or the divinity of Jesus is a later invention, and Jesus was a true prophet, and early Christians didn't believe in Christianity, there is no evidence for that. Every single Christian from the very beginning, every single relevant Christian believed in it. Allah said he will uphold those Christians and make them superior. But those Christians believed in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, in the divinity of Jesus and his sonship. Therefore, Islam is false.
This will be Jake's final 5-minute rebuttal before we go into the cross exams. Good to go?
Okay. All right, so again, and I just want to repeat this because Apostate Ridvan is saying that he's never said this. He's never made the claim that Islam is false for any moral reason. So for all the moral problems that he has with Islam or anybody else, just remember, Ridvan and David Wood actually said something similar in the debate with Daniel. Islam is not false because of any of those things. So if that's what you're getting from him, which most Christians and people watching would, Islam is not false for any of those reasons. Genocide, killing people, anything else, it doesn't matter. So, I don't think even some of his own colleagues believe this. I wonder if Mr. Inspiring Philosophy in the audience would agree with that as well. That Islam is not false for any specific moral reason. It doesn't make Islam false. Interesting. I'd like to hear what he has to say on that. You mentioned your video. You didn't really make an official video on converting. I didn't say you made an official video, but you talked about it, and your explanation was just shockingly ridiculous. You literally talked about going before a wall, so-called Israel, and that gave you a burning of the bosom feeling to think, oh, maybe I was just a stupid atheist all these years, and I was wrong, and there actually is a God. Anyway, what else does he say here? He said that he explained and responded that there isn't any logical problem with the Trinity. Yeah, you said that, but that was pure gaslighting. Show me where I'm going wrong. The Father is God, the Son is God, the Holy Spirit's God.
Yes.
They're not each other. They're distinct from each other.
No, they
the
aren't
normal
the same
way
thing,
in which
bro.
we would count them
What
as
do you not
gods
get?
in the same way that
What
Peter,
does he not
James, and John are
understand,
each
bro?
human.
It's the
So we
same
count them as two
thing.
humans because they're not the same human. They
same
differ from each
thing.
other.
It's not three different things,
you
bro.
said here about, you were mocking my response with Adam, and you said, aside from Adam, everyone was born with a father and a mother. Well, I got another exception to that. That would be Eve. I guess you forgot about her. Maybe you're just throwing her under the bus. And then you said, that everyone understands that being born and not having an earthly father makes you God. That's what makes you the Most High God. How? That does not logically follow at all. Give me inference for why, if somebody does not have an earthly father, if they are actually created in time, that necessitates that they're God. They were still created at that particular moment in time. So there's nothing about Jesus not having an earthly father which necessitates that he's actually God or the Most High God. There was no argument for that given, it's just a claim. You said that you gave the long to-do about Paul, that denying Paul or attacking Paul equals attacking Jesus. I didn't see any good arguments or reasons for that. Paul was somebody who was literally killing Christians and then had supposedly a Damascus Road experience and saw Jesus, didn't actually meet Jesus in the flesh, but everybody should believe what he has to say? Why? You keep making this claim that all of these people, the early Christians, argue and believe that God is triune. I keep asking you to explain what that means. Maybe I'm a little bit slow, but I didn't hear that yet. What do you mean
Maybe you
that
are a
they didn't
little bit
believe
slow. I
in the
think we
Trinity,
agree on
but they
something.
actually believed that God was triune? You keep making this point that, the early followers weren't Muslim, Jake. These people didn't believe what you believe, that they believed that Jesus was God in some sense or whatever. Well, Justin Martyr actually says in the same work, in his dialogue with Trypho, he witnesses to the fact that some people in his own church at that time, in the early 2nd century, did not even believe in the Son having a divine pre-existence, let alone being the second person of the Trinity. Because Justin Martyr believed that the Son was another lesser God, lesser deity, not the Most High God, and he said that this was negotiable. He was actually trying to convince Trypho the Jew that Jesus was the Messiah, and also that he had some divine pre-existence and was the one who appeared in the Old Testament to the patriarchs. But he said that this was negotiable. You didn't need to accept this. You could accept that just that Jesus was the Messiah, and many people in his own church believed that he was merely a man born. That's it. So Justin Martyr, your own church father, actually attests to the fact that there were many people who did not believe in his divine sonship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jake, for that. We'll now go to the 10-minute cross-exam for each one, starting with AP.
Yeah, should be.
Gotcha.
All right. Starting.
Starting.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. I would like to, if possible, out of courtesy, just send yes or no answers, if possible, of course. Jake, do you believe that the Quran is the final, clear, authoritative revelation from Allah?
Yes.
Does the Quran say that the gospel was revealed by Allah as guidance and light?
Yes.
Does the Quran say that Christians had the gospel at the time of Muhammad?
It uses the term gospel, but not in the sense of the original uncorrupted revelation.
So, yes or no?
Depends what you mean by that.
Does the Quran say that Christians had the gospel at the time of Muhammad?
Yes, but not the complete
Thank you.
uncorrupted word of God.
Thank you. It doesn't clarify that. That's your clarification, but okay.
Yeah.
Does the Quran command Christians to judge by the gospel that they possess?
Yes.
Thank you. Can you cite a single Quran verse which explicitly says that the gospel text was actually corrupted? The text itself.
The text itself, I've cited in the previous, I don't know if you were here or not, honestly, I don't know whether or not you were in the audience, but I cited Quran 297. I also cited Quran 513. These are two of the clearest examples. It doesn't specifically use the term, the gospel, but in context, it's referring to the people of the book.
Can you quote how exactly it says that they corrupted the gospel text?
If you want me to pull it up, one second.
Just for reference, 513 just says that it distorts the words when they place and forgotten a portion of what they were reminded of. It never says that they actually corrupted the scripture.
Well, I don't want to waste your time, but in the verse that I mentioned earlier in Surah Al-Baqarah, it says that woe to those who write the book with their own hand and then claim it's from God, and in the context, it's referring to the people of the book. Islamic scholars have understood this in referring to textual corruption of previous scripture.
Islamic scholars have also understood this as people simply, or the Jews simply writing something down and selling it, or writing texts down and inventing things and claiming that it's from the Bible. Right?
Okay, who did that?
And I'm
Well, I
pretty
can't answer
sure. I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can find it in the tafsir. So I would say that from the Quran itself, you can't actually find a single verse that says that the Quran was textually corrupted by the Christians. We only have to read into it. Is that correct?
No, you don't have to read into it. You have to read into the fact that the Injil that existed at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, where it was said that they should judge by this, so on and so forth, that was the original uncorrupted Injil. You have to read into the text. You have to assume that that's the case, which is what you're doing. I don't make that assumption. I understand that the term Injil, the term Torah, that these different words can have different meanings depending on the context in which they're used. They don't have a uniform meaning across the text.
So we just already answered yes to the question of whether the Quran commands Christians to judge by the gospel they possess. I asked you if you can cite a single Quran verse that explicitly says that the gospel text was corrupted. You couldn't cite one.
Well, that wasn't the question, but I cited,
That's what I asked.
I cited two verses. You responded to one saying that there's tafsirs that exist saying something else than that. You didn't show anything. We'll make.
To get open my MacBook Pro 2015, which screwdriver head do I need again? P5 pencil, T5 Torx, T5, T3, T1, 1.5. One point two. Hmm. T2, T3, 1.2. There it is. The tafsir.
You can show it later. And 513, also, if you look at the tafsirs, explains that this is in regard to not merely just corruption, but also textual corruption. Fakhruddin al-Razi mentions this. Other scholars, exegetes of the Quran mention this.
I honestly don't care what the scholars say. Does the verse say textual corruption of the gospel? Yes or no?
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
Is that a question?
So
I don't care what your interpretation is. I mean,
Alright,
why would I care what your interpret? Do you care what my interpretation of the Bible
can
is?
you quote it to me where it says that it's a corruption of the gospel?
I already responded to this. If you
Oh
ask,
my
it's
God.
like when the Muslims come, and I think somebody did this earlier actually, which I
Just
think is a
respond.
pathetic argument. Tell me where Jesus said in the Gospels, "I am God," or "Worship me," verbatim. This is
Well, he
ridiculous.
responded when people called him God. He responded, "You have spoken truth," for example.
My
That would
point
clearly
is,
imply that he is God. You don't have a single verse
my
in the
point
Bible.
is, if I ask you for that, where did Jesus say verbatim, "I am God," or "Worship me"? Say, "Oh, Jake, that's silly." No, here's a verse, or here are verses in the Bible which demonstrate that Jesus is God, as Michael Jones tried to do earlier with his proskynetic.
Oh, it's completely fallacious
So
because
all
you
of
can't
that,
actually find a single verse.
all of that proves
I'm asking
that
questions,
you're
man.
asking
Come
for
on.
an exact wording. The Injil is corrupted.
No, I'm not. I'm just asking for a verse that clearly indicates or
I
clearly
gave it.
mentions the gospel as being corrupted. It
Right.
simply does not exist.
I gave it already.
All right. So if Allah revealed the gospel and called it guidance and light and commanded people to judge by it,
Mhm.
then Allah either preserved it or Allah failed to preserve it. Which one is it?
My name is Emmer Carney, and I am ISSA certified. I would 100% when somebody gets certified through ISSA. Being certified has allowed me to create my own brand.
I'm gonna ask shit about that, bro. Motherfucker, you bring it up.
ISSA certified.
Get the fuck out of here, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Alright, buddy.
Allah either failed to preserve it or what?
Or he actually truly preserved it. Which one is it?
He did not preserve it. He chose
So
not to preserve it because it was revelation for specific people at a certain time up until the time of the Prophet Muhammad.
Oh, interesting. Does the Quran say that Allah's words cannot be corrupted?
In the context of referring to his promises, yes.
Excuse me, does the Quran say that Allah's words cannot be corrupted?
Yes, in the context of his promises.
Was the gospel Allah's word according to you?
The gospel, Allah's word, yes.
So it cannot be corrupted.
That's not what the text means. When it says that his, I already responded. I mean, you could laugh if you want, if you want an actual genuine response.
Thank you, I will learn.
No. If you want an actual genuine response, I already told you that when it says that his words cannot be corrupted, if you look in the context, especially chapter 6, verse 34, and the one that David typically cites, which is 6:15, the context is clearly referring to God's promises actually being fulfilled and
You already
not.
answered, thank you. Does the Quran say that Allah elevated the followers of Jesus, his disciples, above the disbelievers until the day of judgment?
Yeah.
In the immediate context of that verse, are those followers the disciples and their followers of Jesus?
Yes, Jesus is genuine disciples and genuine followers.
It's time to go back to
Historically, did the disciples preach the crucifixion and the
21.
resurrection of Jesus?
Who?
I'm not
The
21.
disciples and the apostles.
No, I don't believe that.
Can you show me any evidence that points at them not preaching any of these things?
But I can drink.
We don't have any evidence of what his genuine apostles actually said to begin with.
Well, we already brought it up. I mean, there is historical consensus that his disciples directly approved of Paul. Paul himself writes directly in Corinthians, in Galatians, and many other sources. And in fact, in Acts, it is the author Luke who directly confirms Paul as an apostle.
Luke
and
is not. Luke and Paul, neither of them are eyewitnesses to anything. Paul had a Damascus Road experience where he supposedly saw Jesus, which nobody can actually confirm. And Luke himself, in his gospel account in the first chapter, he explains to you why he's writing the gospel. He says basically because I heard other people doing it, and there were other accounts, and it seemed good to me also for me to write it. He never says that this is based on eyewitness.
So we have
Some
overwhelming
precepts.
evidence that, according to Acts and according to every single source, the disciples, including Peter foremost, accepted Paul and preached the very same thing. Do you have any evidence that they preached something different?
all
up
of
to
your
today?
claims, you keep making the claim that all evidence.
I just asked you a simple question.
I'm
Do you have any
I'm
evidence?
responding to the argument. Your claim is that you're assuming that the New Testament is actually true.
When you say precept, does that mean push up? What's a junkie? What's a nasty junkie?
Something completely different.
Again, you're asking for evidence on both sides, which I don't believe exists. I don't believe that we have any genuine testimony from the early disciples and apostles of Jesus.
So, am I understanding you correctly that what you are saying is that we actually don't have any solid evidence to know what the disciples and what Jesus and what the apostles preach? Nothing, except we have the Quran, which came 600 years later. Is that what you're
A
saying?
skeleton?
No.
Hey.
Never said that.
Ah, fantastic.
Hell
yeah.
So, how do you...
You want to see my Skeletor? I got one.
So you just
Yeah.
said no, but that's literally what you're doing.
No. It's not at all what I'm doing.
So
you
what
said,
is- what
you,
is
as
your
a
second
Muslim,
thing?
as a Muslim, once, as you already said, once I've already,
Soon I'll be as buff as Skeletor myself.
that doesn't mean that I don't look at historical data. I did look at the historical data. I explained to you the context in which Luke is writing his gospel, and he's
All right.
not claiming
So
to
answer
be
answer this
an
to me. then.
eyewitness.
The
He's
Quran
not
says
denying
the
being an
Quran
eyewitness.
says that Allah will elevate and make superior the followers of Jesus until the day of judgment.
Yes,
Who has been made superior among Christians?
his true followers.
His true followers.
Yeah.
So
His
those,
true followers.
those who have been
and the
made superior.
context is, you think, as many other people misread
what
the
the text
Quran,
actually
you
says
think,
is it speaks directly to the disciples and
No,
to his followers around
you
him,
think
who from
superiority-
then until the day of judgment will be made superior.
you think superiority means in terms of status, earthly status, and how many followers
Okay, how have
there
they
are
been-
of that.
how have they
Hold
been
on a
made
second, your
superior?
time is up, sir.
How
You
have
had enough
they
of
been
your time.
superior?
You had enough of
Your
your
time is
time.
also up.
No, I'm answering what you were
No,
saying.
your time didn't stop.
I'm answering what you were saying.
Jake, we'll start your 10-minute cross-examination on your first question.
Okay, Ridvan, by what relation do you count gods in the Trinity?
Excuse me again.
By what relation do you count gods in the Trinity?
By what relation do I count gods in the Trinity?
Yes. Father's God, Son is God, Holy Spirit's God. They're not the same person. They're distinct from each other. How do they not count as
Death
gods?
cards.
Well, the answer to that would be very simple, which would be that you are making a category mistake, a category fallacy, which would be that even if you refer to them as one God and three persons, what we're actually saying is that in essence God is one, while in hypostasis, in person, they are three.
Okay. Did Jesus possess a genuine human nature?
Yes.
Did he possess the same universal human nature that all other human beings possess?
I'm not entirely sure about that, but I guess yes. Yeah.
Okay. How many human beings are in this room right now?
Probably 70.
Okay, more than one, right?
Yes.
And we have the same human nature?
Yes.
Okay, so by your same reasoning, in which the Trinity, there's only one God because they share the same divine nature, we share the same human nature.
What?
How are we not one human? And your Turkish saint, Gregory of Nyssa, said that we are only
He
one
was
human.
Greek, not Turkish. There were no Turks in Anatolia at the time.
Modern day Turkey.
That's not Turkish.
Answer the question.
Sorry, which question? Repeat.
My question is, how do we not count as one human being as Gregory of Nyssa said that we do because we have one human nature?
Well, I cannot really speak to what Saint Gregory of Nyssa said, but I'm not entirely sure I follow from the question you just asked and the answer that I just gave. If Jesus has a human nature, how do we not? I mean, Jesus had a human nature and a divine nature. He was fully man and fully human, fully man and fully God. That's what we believe. While at the same time, he is part of the Trinity, of the one essence that is God in three persons. I'm not entirely sure where you're getting at with this.
What I'm getting
I
at,
can't comment on what Saint Gregory of Nyssa specifically said. I can only comment on what I believe and what I'm taught.
okay. What I'm getting at is that the human beings possess the same nature, and yet we count them as more than one human being. We don't count them as only one human being. So by the same logic and the same reasoning, even though in the Trinitarian conception of God they have the same nature or essence, we should still count them as three gods and not one. Where am I going wrong?
I really don't get the question. I think you're making a typical category mistake here. We have clearly defined, we have clearly explained that in the Trinity, you have, for example, repeated this earlier. You said that Christianity teaches, or Christians say today, that the Father is the Son, but the Father is also not the Son.
I never said that.
It's a category.
I never said that.
Isn't that what you just said?
I never said that.
Isn't that what you
No, I never said that.
Can you clarify that?
I said the exact opposite. I said Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, each God, and they're not each other, meaning they're not
That's
the same
fucking
individual.
false, bro.
And yet you
They
count
are
them.
God.
You
That's what you said.
count them as one God. Why do you count them as one God? Because they have the same essence. Why do we count human beings as more than one human being, even though they have the same human essence? You
Right.
are not actually showing where the difference lies.
Okay, you're supposed to ask questions, not preach here. So you asked
You asked me a question.
You asked me the question. So I explained to you my perspective and my understanding of it,
Yeah.
which is that God is one in essence. This is what we are taught, and God is also at the same time three persons. That is what
Okay.
that is what we are taught.
God is
If you want
three
to
people.
question this further, or want me to comment on what Saint Gregory of Nyssa said, I'm not sure. To tell me about that, I already answered it.
Okay, do you believe that God can be caused to exist or dependent?
God,
Yeah.
in essence, no.
So God, can you be God if you're caused to exist or dependent?
Once again, in essence, no.
Okay, as a person.
So that is a very, very complicated topic to deal with.
I know, it is. It's
I would
hard.
actually deal the response to that. I would actually let the response to that be answered by different people. But to my understanding, before time, before creation, we do affirm in the creed that that Jesus, the Son, is begotten by the Father.
And does begotten mean caused?
Holy Spirit proceeds from the Holy Father. Cause, we call it cause.
Okay, so the Son is eternally caused to exist and dependent upon the Father,
Yes.
and that doesn't negate him being God.
No, because it would transcend any understanding that we have of how the causation happens. And you said yourself.
So do you fault
it's
people?
eternal.
Do you fault people? you fault people for denying that because they can't make sense of it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay, thank you.
I won't, because I think it's a complex matter. And as I explained at the very beginning, I wouldn't independently, I wouldn't think that it is reasonable to independently discuss the metaphysics of God and the nature of God. What would be reasonable to do is to trust the revelation, to assess whether the revelation is true or not,
Okay.
and from the revelation about the nature of God.
Okay.
If you don't about the causation and whether the Son being begotten of the Father somehow invalidates his divinity, you have already said something right there, which is eternally begotten.
Okay.
We don't say that.
You're going on for a long time here,
I'm
Rick.
asking you a question.
You're going on for
We
like
don't
2
believe that
minutes
there was
here.
at some point.
It's my time. I get to control the time.
Eternally begotten.
So do you believe that anything that has a beginning in time is created?
Yeah.
You believe anything that has a beginning in time is created?
In time, as in our universe in time, sure.
Yeah, beginning in time. It did not exist before and now it exists.
Yeah.
Has a beginning in time. You believe anything that has a beginning in time is created?
Yeah.
Okay, and you are, have you been formally baptized into the Eastern Orthodox Church?
Not yet.
You're a catechumen?
Yeah.
Okay, so you might want to show them this because your saint and church father, Gregory Palamas, in the Triad says that our opponent thinks that everything which has a beginning is created. So he actually denies that anything that has a beginning in time is created. That is actually a heretical position according to the church that you want to belong to.
Okay, so
Hey, look at you! Florist by day, student by night, PT by dawn, D by dusk. Always powered by Penn State World Campus. With more than 175 in-demand...
What the fuck? Oh god.
you have just said yourself, eternally begotten, so an eternal causation, and now you're conflating that with beginning in time.
No, I'm not at all. This is actually a different issue. Try to keep up. I'm asked you the question about whether or not you believe that anything which has a beginning in time is created. The Eastern Orthodox, following Gregory Palamas, do not believe that. They believe that things can have a time and be uncreated. So you are actually spewing a heretical position according to your church.
Okay, thanks for letting me know.
Okay, I have no problem letting you know. You believe that Jesus was a human person?
Yes.
Okay, can you show me what that is in your creeds?
In my creed.
Yeah.
You want to recite the creed? I mean, I believe he was a human person. That's what we affirm.
Okay, do you know that that's heresy?
What?
I know, you're going to be shocked too. Don't worry, guys. You're going to get this. Jesus,
That's not shocked. He was asking me, what did you just...
divine person with two natures, a divine nature and a human nature. He was not a
Why are you
human
preaching?
person.
Why are you preaching? You were supposed to ask me questions.
Yeah, you said what? So I'm explaining it to you. Didn't you want that? So you believe Jesus was a human person. Do you know the person?
I believe that Jesus was fully human and fully man.
But was he a human person?
What? Yes, he just said yes.
I don't know how to answer that.
Okay, I know you don't know how to answer this.
Is he a
This is the
human
problem.
person?
This is the problem. This is the problem. But anyway,
This
we'll
is the-
move on here.
Well, how are the
Do you
ones that
believe?
the problem?
Do you believe that? Do you believe that
How-
Jesus?
how is that the problem?
Do you believe that Jesus had two wills?
Complicated question, nothing to do with the topic.
Do you believe that Jesus had two wills, sir?
It is a debate topic that I don't think I consider myself ready to actually.
I know you're not ready.
No, if you
Everybody
want
can see
to,
it.
I think if you want
You're
to.
not ready. Everybody can see.
No, if
Okay,
you want
do you
to,
believe
if you
that
want to have
Jesus-
further answers on that question, you can, for example, consult Metropolitan Callistus, where you can consult.
Is he alive?
Many of the no, he's actually he passed away.
I can't consult him then unless I pray to the saints like you.
Yeah, the book's for him.
Yes, I have.
Then read his book.
I don't need to read the book. I read this book. Gosh. Okay, let's go on to the next issue. Do you believe that Jesus is our in his human nature?
Another complicated question. to what he assumed at the time that he was on the among us on the earth. We believe that Jesus had that Jesus voluntarily emptied himself of many of his qualities or many of his abilities, that he voluntarily emptied himself with the incarnation.
Okay, can you comment?
Taking our nature.
Can you comment on the apparent false prophecy of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew 16, which I read from earlier, where he said, "Some of you standing before me now will not actually taste death"?
There are disagreements on that, but I can't really make a comment on whether that is a false or true prophecy. There's disagreements about its reference to the temple there.
Okay.
Numerous disagreements.
And
And no early Christian actually believed that
Yeah.
believed that it failed or anything like that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now go to the 5-minute closings, starting with AP.
So I'm pushing.
Yeah, hit that like button, folks. We do appreciate it if you're watching online.
Hit that like button, folks. All right, so
Hit that like button.
this was fun. In all honesty, when Jake first offered this debate topic on Christianity and Islam, which one is true, I very reluctantly accepted it. My initial thought was that I do not consider myself in any way in a position to act as a Christian apologist and to tell people about whether Christianity is true or not. I am a new Christian. My journey is very, very new. It has come with lots of problems with 10 years of hardcore skepticism that I had, but I have recently changed my ways, I could say, to let go of hardcore skepticism and to listen to the revelation, which I, after long searching, confirmed to be true. That is specifically what I was referring to when I said that revelation comes first before complex metaphysics and all that. I have come to believe in the truth of Christianity. I have come to believe that Jesus is God. I have come to believe that he is the Savior. I have come to believe that Christianity is what we all need and what helps us the most in life. I will not speak for all atheists and for all skeptics, but at some point I did think that the best thing for me to do would be to maximally seek liberty and freedom and happiness over everything. And I have come to the conclusion that it's not really a fantastic way to go, to put it very mildly. So I have come to affirm Christianity as true. One of the people, as I mentioned, who have been very influential in my learning and adopting of Christianity was a Metropolitan Callistos Ware, who recently passed away. He wrote 2 books that are very famous, called The Orthodox Church and The Orthodox Way. Also accessible for everyone, whether Orthodox or not Orthodox. Has been very, very impactful. I would suggest anyone who has any questions about Christianity and about the nature of God and any of these things, not to necessarily listen to me, but to go and listen to the fantastic speakers and preachers and apologists, whether they are Protestant, whether they are Catholic, whether they are Orthodox. They are everywhere, and I respect many of them. I primarily agreed to this debate specifically to argue about Islam, because Islam is the religion that makes the claim that it is the true religion which came to affirm the previous scriptures and to fulfill it all, and to send the final messenger to bring the ultimate message to humanity. But once again, Islam appealed to Christianity and to Judaism first as sources that were originally apparently sent by Allah. But Islam can never, ever resolve the problems that come with making such a claim. Jesus preached that he is the divine Son of God. Jesus preached that he has to die, that he will die for the salvation of many. Jesus preached that he will come back. Jesus was resurrected. All the early Christians affirmed this. All the early Christians prior to Paul affirmed this. Paul simply adopted these things with the approval of the disciples and all the others. Christians from the earliest day Even those who disagreed on Christ's nature and the precise definition of God's nature of the Trinity affirmed from the very beginning that Jesus rose from the dead, that he was resurrected, that he is God, that he's the divine Son of God. I talked to Bart Ehrman myself, who is agnostic about the existence of God, and he said to me very clearly that it is undeniable that Jesus was crucified, which Islam denies, that the immediate followers and disciples of Jesus saw and proclaimed to have seen him resurrect and arise bodily after he was crucified. He said this is undeniable. There is no way to deny this as a serious historian, which is why serious historians do not deny that this ever happened, that they actually proclaimed to have seen him, 500 of them. And he also affirms that it is quite clear, just like any serious historian out there, that the immediate followers of Jesus, his disciples and the apostles, as soon as the resurrection happened, affirmed that Jesus is the divine Son of God. This is the earliest Christian belief. This is what Christians believed in for 2,000 years. This is what Christians believed in all the time.
30 seconds.
Islam claims to be the true religion, but then appeals to Christianity and affirms the first Christian teachings without knowing what they are, and thereby refutes itself. So my invitation to Muslims would simply be to actually be consistent with their appeal to Christianity, to respect Jesus,
What's up,
and to let
OG?
go
What's
of their
up?
false belief in Islam, which is a false religion that refutes itself. God bless you all. Thank you.
I'm watching this Islam Christianity debate. Playing some Monopoly. It's going good. It's going good. Doing some exercise and some stretching. How about you? How's my cat? She's chilling. Played with her earlier. What level are you on Monopoly? Oh man. Well, I have like 4 different accounts on Monopoly. My main account is like level, I don't know, like level 600 plus or something like that. And then I have my backup accounts because sometimes there's like team events, so it's good to have like myself as a teammate.
So, you know, I appreciate that because I think that that's very.
I'll check. Let me see what my level is. On this account, I'm on. Wait, your net worth? Oh, your net worth. My net worth on this account is 10,900. I'll check my main account because that's the best one.
Because you were somebody who years ago was critiquing my conversion to Islam and my video on it, and then you came along and said, oh, I got a burning bosom in the heart, and I stood next to a wall in Jerusalem, and I believe in God. So I think that that's really interesting. Anybody can go see what you actually said. Yeah, well, I didn't interrupt you when you were lying about me, so here we go. You said Islam came to affirm the previous scriptures. Guys, if you want to go see a debate on that, I had one a few hours.
I didn't start playing Monopoly Go when it first came out, but I started a couple of months after it was already out, and then I got like pretty addicted and stopped playing my other mobile games.
About early Christianity, or truly doesn't believe that Jesus declared himself to be God either.
I'm kind of mad. The last event, there was a race event where it was like where you could win Voldemort as a new avatar, and I was going so hard on that motherfucking event, but I didn't win because at the last like second, well, the last like minute of the race, like I took the lead, but I blew my load, I blew my stack. And I didn't leave enough time to snipe the win, you know what I mean? So I fucked up, and they won the Voldemort. Alright, my net worth on my main account is 24,611. So I'm balling pretty hard on this one. But I could do better.
Do historians confirm Jesus was seen by 500? I thought that that's what you said, but I don't know who says that at all. So I'd like to see a source for that. AP never actually even attempted to respond to my claims about false prophecies in the Old Testament, for example, in Genesis chapter 37,
you want
where
all
Joseph
three
dreamed
races?
that he
Nice.
prophesies
Damn, bro.
that his parents will bow before him.
Yeah, that's usually what holds me back. Is sometimes I don't have very good teammates. But yeah, I'll add you for sure. You sound like you're pretty good. Be a good teammate.
Jesus in the New Testament actually falsely prophesied, and it's not just Jake saying this. There are actually Christian scholars who say this.
I don't really like the theme for this, the new Monopoly Go theme. It's like pets with accessories or some shit. It's like, what the fuck? Like, what is the prize for this race? Let me see this. I can't even see what the prize is. I'm not sure. Oh, wait. Anyways.
Most part from Rick on tonight is, oh, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Did Jesus have two wills? I don't really know. Was Jesus a human person? Yeah, he was. You all laughed, but you don't know the Trinitarian and a Catholic keep.
Yeah, that's lame. I've had that happen before where it's like I wanted to update my one of my accounts and then it wouldn't update, so I couldn't play the game, which was weird. Oh wait, I need to pay a bill on Apple. I think I need to send you my. I'll put my friend code in the chat, and you could add me. I'm not sure how to search you, or if you want to give me your friend code, I could add you. But here's mine.
On this. I mean Catholic, I mean the universal church, is that Jesus was not a human person.
Oh, okay.
You say, Jake, how's that?
Damn.
I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
No fun. Yeah, well. Alright. I'll check back in with you on that then.
Religion. So if you believe in one and only true God, and that no being is worthy of worship except for him, and you believe that God actually sent prophets and sent revelation, then there's only one religion which is compatible with that. It's not Christianity, it's not Judaism, it's no other religion except Islam. So I again invite you here to think about this, to listen to very closely someone who had answers to questions, who put forward arguments, and someone who did not. If you believe in one God and want to worship him alone, then the only religion is Islam. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that closing as well. We are going to have about 16 minutes of Q&A, folks, if you want to line up hugging this side of the room or the chairs. And about 16 minutes, so it's going to be a little bit... Oh, we're just getting started.
What you up to today, OG?
All right, first question. Thanks for your question.
This one's for, forgot his name, but Jake. Yeah,
I'm
okay.
surprised.
So,
Man,
if
I took an early lead on this race, and I put I put a bunch of anvils on the second place person. They're fucking fucked.
you confirmed that,
But a lot of the people who play this game are like pay to play, and the only time I've ever paid for this game was I paid $10 to try and win that Voldemort avatar, but before that I don't remember the last time I paid for this game. So usually I just do free to play for the most part.
Jesus was born of a virgin, but you also deny his divinity. How can you deny his divinity whenever it takes two parents to make 46 chromosomes? But one of those chromosomes, set of chromosomes, whenever he was born of a virgin with parthenogenesis, that it would have to be some kind of divine intervention, and part of that being of God.
Yeah, that's exactly what we call a divine miracle. When God actually can create a baby in his mother's womb without any human intervention, without a human father, that is a miracle. It does not prove that the individual is God, and in fact, it disproves that he's God because he was created in his mother's womb, and God is not created.
Just so we are able to see you because the cameras, we don't have a
One
stage.
second.
Thanks so much. And then also, I do want to do a couple things for this Q&A. One is, if you haven't gotten to ask a question yet in the previous debates, and maybe can you slip your hand up if you're in line? You're like, I haven't gotten to ask one. I do want to try to prioritize those. Still be in line, but I just want to try to get those guys that haven't gotten to, or guys right now.
Yeah, I don't believe in God, but I like debates. I like listening to debates. They're debating like waiting for my sister-in-law to get out of work. That's what's up. How can you be a Christian yet you smoke? What? What? Christians can't smoke dabs? I don't remember that in the Bible. That's weird.
To the back of the line.
And then also, I do want to try to get
But I didn't claim to be a Christian, so there's that.
a roughly equal balance of questions for AP and for Jake. That way, they're not all for Jake. So if you, my guess is your question.
That's gonna be hard, man.
You got Jake, and then Jake, and then who's the first AP one? Can you come on up? I know you've already asked, but like I said, I do want to keep the pressure on AP.
Can I have a quick comment on the
Looking up
last
there.
question?
Huh?
A quick comment on the last question.
If you do that, then I'm
I
gonna
don't believe
either.
Good. Yeah, so the obvious thing is that in mythology,
Yeah, I mean, I listen. I like Christian morals. I also like Buddhism. Those are the ones I know the most about. But yeah, I would smoke dabs if I was a Buddhist too. Doesn't have anything to do with my religion or my beliefs. I just, I'm a dabber. I'm a smoker.
history and the cultural context, virgin birth has always been about
Anything that's harmful to the body is against. It's not harmful to your body though. It's good for your body. So that's why I don't smoke cigarettes. That might be against God. That's harmful for your body. Yeah, I smoke meth and that's good for you, bro. Benny Blanco flower. I was debating. I'm not sure. It's been a few days since I've smoked, but I might go to the dispensary later. I might either get some dabs or some flower. I haven't decided yet. Smoke is good for the body. Dabs are. Yeah. Certified 100%.
divine fatherhood. Why is in Islam, according to Islam, that the miracle that is given to Jesus, which clearly makes people falsely believe, allegedly, that Jesus has a divine father? It seems as if it was trickery on Allah's behalf to grant such a miracle to Jesus.
But yeah, I don't claim to be a Christian. I'm actually a leader of my own religion. You guys could join if you want. And I'm the prophet of that religion, so we're gonna have to figure out my my morals and write some shit down. What's my favorite strain? Probably like cherry pie or 9-pound hammer, maybe.
Okay, I'm just fixing. Introducing new potbelly wraps.
How about you? I think that's a pretty funny. I don't know. Yeah. I think even if I was a Muslim, I would smoke dabs. And I think that's not allowed. I don't know. Let me see. If I was a Muslim, could I smoke dabs? Haram. Forbidden. Haram, what? If I was a Christian, could I smoke dabs?
In Christianity, the consensus is generally no. While the Bible doesn't mention dabs specifically, most denominations discourage them based on two main principles: sobriety. Scripture calls for
Sobriety.
being sober-minded. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse.
Is it because if you're sober-minded, then you aren't on God consciousness, but if you smoke dabs, then you are on God consciousness?
Actually, most Christian theology argues the exact opposite.
No,
In this perspective,
well, I'm arguing for dabs as the God consciousness.
in mainstream Christianity, God consciousness is achieved through a clear, disciplined mind rather than an altered state. Most theologians.
Dabs do clear your mind. Great.
While you might feel a sense of clarity or God consciousness, religious scholars argue this is a chemically induced high, not spiritual discipline.
Chemically induced high? Yeah, but it's a natural chemical from God, his plants.
While Christians and Muslims acknowledge plants are from God, they believe the intent and effect matter most. Using concentrated substances to bypass the natural mind is seen as seeking a false spiritual shortcut rather than building.
Surely God would endorse mushrooms.
Religious scholars distinguish between nature and use, noting that many
The use of psychedelic mushrooms God would surely endorse.
most theologians argue that God provides natural beauty to be admired, not consumed.
Man, who are these idiots? Who are these theologians?
So this is for you. So if you're open-minded to the idea of one ultimate God with three persons in perfect harmony, then what is your theological rebuttal against Hindus when they say they believe in one ultimate God with thousands of different persons? You may say that
I mean, they can be scholars, but I could be a scholar too, and I would disagree with them. So there's no question that you get God consciousness from dabs and mushrooms. No question. Not in my mind.
Hinduism also believes in lower demigods, but that would just be explaining different views. What is the theological principle that makes one acceptable and the other impossible? Why is multiple persons sharing one essence only coherent when it's three, but incoherent when it's more than three, if both claim one ultimate divine reality? You may provide a historical argument, however, I'm asking for a theological one. Also to add, you mentioned the good... Yes, it's just...
So, India? I don't believe in God either, but if people want to refer to something as God, you can just call me God if that makes it easier.
So the issue to clarify here is that the Hindu perspective of God is in no way compatible with the Trinity or the Triune God in Christianity. That said, I already said it at the very beginning that what we ought to do, as my understanding is to assess the revelation that comes to us and thereby then learn the metaphysics and affirm those. I do not believe in this whole idea that we don't need revelation, that we can just independently find out the truth and then base our religion on that. I do believe that humans are in dire need of the revelation, which they need to assess to find out if it is true or not. The rest is learned from the revelation. So therefore, the question would not really apply.
Okay, and just to add, because you mentioned a Quran verse that would contradict what we view, but that's actually not the case. You mentioned the Quran verse that says God will elevate the followers of Jesus before the day of resurrection, and you're totally right. We Muslims are the sincerest followers of Jesus. We're the fastest growing religion, and we're expected to become the world's largest religion in about 30 years. So that Quran verse actually aligns with
that. That is not what the Quran verse actually says. So I can read you the Quran verse. Well, you can say that, but I can read the actual Quran verse. Because I can do this right here. Quran chapter 3. Verse 53 to 55. I will read it out right here. Let me go ahead. Our Lord, I have believed in what you revealed and have followed the messenger. Which one was that again? Which verse was it again?
I think God just makes people Do
Allah
a
said,
flip.
"O Jesus, indeed I will take you and raise you to myself and purify you from those who disbelieve and make those who follow you superior to those who disbelieve until the day of resurrection."
Damn, I didn't see my cat there. I woke her up.
He pointed out that this is, if you go back a few verses about the disciples of Jesus, it says in verse 52, "But when Jesus felt disbelief from them, from the Jews around him, he said, 'Who are my supporters for Allah?'" The disciples said, "We are supporters for Allah. We have believed in Allah and testified that we are Muslims." It promises to those disciples and to the followers that Allah will separate him from those who disbelieve and want him dead, and make his disciples and followers superior until the day of judgment. So those disciples and followers clearly are already Christians, believed in the resurrection and the divinity of Jesus and in the triune God. There is no other such group.
From the garden.
I do have to go to the next one.
Please be quiet.
All right, that's a question for Jake.
What injustices were done to Lilith from the garden?
In Jewish folklore, particularly the alphabet of Ben Sira, Lilith's primary injustice was her enforced subordination. The core conflict. Lilith was created from the same earth as Adam, making them equals.
Who's
When she
Lilith?
refused to take a submissive position during intimacy, Adam insisted on his dominance.
Bro, who's
After she
Lilith?
fled the Garden of Eden to escape this,
Who is Lilith again? Like, what are you?
in Jewish folklore, Lilith is Adam's first wife. Unlike Eve, she was created from the same soil as Adam and insisted on equal status, eventually fleeing Eden when he refused to treat her as his peer. Over time, her legend evolved from a symbol of independence into a demonic figure in mystical traditions.
20-pound dumbbell. Yeah, I don't know anything about Lilith, man. I couldn't really give a quick answer to that.
The covenant that God established with Abraham in Genesis 17:21 was with the lineage
How would you
of
teach your
Isaac
children how to
specifically.
understand anger?
Ishmael wasn't
God
of the
is
lineage
gangsta.
of Isaac. Given the covenant established with Isaac,
How to understand anger? Oh, I would go with some Buddhism. There's a lot of good teachings in Buddhism about controlling your anger and shit like that.
won't you agree Muhammad couldn't be the brethren among you that Moses was referring to? That
Got both of these girls, and I'm going on a group date. Never been on one for. Hey man, I'm not the one to ask, honestly. I would say just chill and do all of that. Yeah, thank you, Spicy.
would be the one to come. Thank you.
I don't know what you're referring to in the second part. I think you're referring to
Nice.
Deuteronomy chapter 18.
Just splattered all over that hand. Hey man, good luck next time. Make sure your barrel's not fully loaded before you try it again.
Where someone is said to come after Moses.
Favorite Pokemon game? I'm gonna go with Emerald. Emerald was when it, Crystal was really good, but Emerald was where it peaked, and then it was pretty much downhill from there after Emerald.
I don't need to confirm any specific
JV,
biblical prophecy
PV?
regarding the Prophet Muhammad. I have
Always after me, Lucky Charm. Heart Gold? Yeah. Heart Gold, yeah. True, yeah, I like that one. Yeah, unfortunately all my Game Boy games are gone now, but I still got memories.
my own view on that. But when you talk about that the covenant is not with Ishmael at all, in fact, there is a claim about Ishmael that he will be, that his successors will be part of a great nation, and that there will be princes that come from him, and so on and so forth. So Christians have to, and Jews have to respond to that and tell us who those people are supposed to be.
AP, you're fighting for your religious beliefs, but what would make you not believe in your religion?
Excuse me again?
You're fighting for your religious beliefs, but what would make you not believe in your religion?
Are you boss?
I don't know how to answer that question, honestly.
Yep.
the conclusion that that my religious beliefs are not true because my religion makes truth claims that are unfalsifiable and simply make no sense and you can't assess them, or they are verified to be false, I would, I guess, end up not believing in it. What I do, I arrive at the truth of this religion by assessing the revelation and analyzing its claims as again laid out in the New Testament, and concluding that that it is the truth. And of course, there is also an ounce of faith put into it, which is why we call it faith.
Okay. Jake, my question is for you, but first I want to applaud your courage for being here and doing 2 debates. It would be a very boring day without someone like you. You're also brave. Thank you for doing this. I mean, did you put a lot out there when you go to a debate?
Especially against Jake, right? I mean,
yeah, right. So, this is an easy question, but I just want to be particular with Genesis 37. You made the claim that Joseph made a false prophecy. In Genesis 37, is it Joseph who's interpreting the sun and moon to be Jacob and Rachel, or is it Jacob?
It's virtually every scholar that I've ever seen commenting on the issue, both Jewish and Christian scholars. They say that the 11 stars are referring to Joseph's siblings, his brothers, and that the sun and the moon are referring to that. And in the
the sun came out.
latter part of the passage here, I think I have it here. 1 second. He said, "What is this dream that you have had? Am I and your mother and your brothers actually going to come to bow down to the ground before you?" So yes, in that section there, it's his father speaking, and the claim is that the 11 stars are the brothers and the sun and the moon are the father. But if you reject that, then you'd have to give an alternative interpretation to who those celestial bodies are supposed to be in the prophecy, and then explain how it's been fulfilled. And I've never seen it done.
Jake, just real quick, in the Quran, Allah says we, and why would he use we? It's the royal we?
Maybe a little later.
Why is it better to be a plurality than singular? Just real quick, thank you.
Yeah, so it is the plural. Well, if you're seeing when Allah is definitively speaking in the Quran, if he uses we, it is referring to it as the plural of majesty. We don't believe that there are multiple divine persons or divine beings in the Godhead. No Muslim has ever interpreted the passages that way. Why is it better to be a plurality? I don't think it's better to be plurality necessarily, but it's a function, and it's common in language that there is this plural of majesty that exists even in English. Why that is, I don't know. It's just a function of language.
All right, this question is for AP. AP, although I think you're going to say I don't know, I'm going to ask you anyways.
I don't know.
Being that the Son is eternally begotten, as you claim, and thus dependent on the Father for his existence, what coherent definition does he retain? By what coherent definition does he retain aseity, which is essential to being God, the great making property?
Well, I think it has nothing to do with the debate topic, and Jake tried to do the very same thing by making his entire cross-examination about issues that have no relevance to the debate topic at all. So, therefore, I don't think there's any discussion to be made about that. I only very much pointed out in my opening statement that that this is a discussion that I find entirely to be, I don't want to call it irrelevant, because I know that others do it, and I respect them for doing it.
Okay.
But I don't think that it is, personally speaking, terribly to finding the truth.
It's okay. Good thing I'm a lawyer, because relevance is actually defined as anything that has a tendency to disprove or prove a fact in dispute, and is relevant because aseity, as Joshua Sijuwade says, is the great making property that makes God God. So you need to explain to the crowd, how is Jesus ase while dependent on the Father for his existence to be eternally begotten?
That's very, very cool, very nice. But as I said, it has no relevance on whether a religion is, whether a religion's revelation is found to be true or not, and that's what I explained. You can employ your brilliant human reasoning and can explain to us what God's nature must actually be like. That's just you speaking, and I don't trust you.
We got time for maybe one or two more questions.
Thank you.
Is there anybody who hasn't
Like,
gotten asked a question
my
yet?
favorite band
Okay,
is
I want to
Radiohead.
start. Forgive me, brother.
Yeah, this question's for Jake. I heard you say
No, I'm pretty good back in like 20 years ago, but yeah, it's a pretty good band. No hate for them.
and just correct me if I'm wrong. I heard you say you said that Jesus was a divine person with a human nature and a divine nature, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so wouldn't that be saying divine person? Wouldn't that be applying a qualitative attribute to a person, making it a category error?
I don't understand the question.
Like saying divine person is applying a qualitative attribute to the person, but qualitative attributes are only applied to a nature.
No. Christians believe that Jesus, the Son, was a divine person. I mean, I don't know. This is a strange question to me because Trinitarians claim that the Father is a divine person, the Son is a divine person, the Holy Spirit is a divine person.
It's the same person, bro. What does he not get? It's the same person.
Hi, Jake.
I'm talking about the same
you asked,
fucking
how
person.
God could genocide a people like that in the Book of Numbers. Yet, as a Muslim, you too believe in Noah and the flood. Doesn't this posit that Allah also affirms genocide? And how do you balance this in regards to your previous arguments?
No, because I never claimed that the flood of Noah was a universal flood that was genociding people. I never claimed that. That's not my position. Many people, I think, including Mr. Inspiring Philosophy in the audience, don't hold that view either. And there's a difference between a natural disaster, right, like a flood or something of that, and actually telling an individual that he needs to go, a human being needs to go into a house or a village and actually murder infants or babies in the crib. There's a relevant difference.
If God is not made of parts, how can you?
Did you know that home care careers make a difference in people's lives? It's also a job that takes care of you with flexible hours, health.
Fuck up. Didn't ask that bitch.
With the new item.
Fucking stupid ass commercials, man. Now I want some IHOP. Thanks a lot, IHOP. Pieces of shit. Fucking hate every fucking company that advertises to me.
How can you count him as numbers? My question is really is if you how Muslims mock Christians, well, 1 plus 1 or whatever, I can easily tell you what's 1 times 1 times 1.
Yeah, but in multiplication where you're doing 1 times 1 times 1, you're multiplying something by itself. In the case of the Trinity, you're not doing that. You're adding 3 distinct beings, although they won't call them beings, but I am. You're adding 3 distinct persons, and you're not multiplying because they're not the same. If they were the same, it would be like saying, well, Jake Brancatella and the Muslim metaphysician, or Superman and Clark Kent, they're just 2 names for the same person. That you can have a single being that has multiple names, but in the case of the Father and Son, what's that? With addition, you have the Father who eternally begets the Son. The Son is eternally begotten of the Father. They're 2 distinct beings.
Yeah. You asked during this debate, this is for Jake, by the way. You asked during this debate why we should believe what Paul says because he came from a Jewish background and only had a Damascus Road experience, which nobody can confirm. So by your same standard,
I've seen a lot. I don't think I heard about it. Was there a massacre in Iran recently? I've seen some stories.
Yes, several human rights organizations and news outlets have reported on a series of massacres in Iran during early January 2026. The killings occurred during a violent crackdown on nationwide protests that began in late December 2025.
So they're just shooting protesters indiscriminately.
The most intense violence took place on January 8th and 9, 2026, when security forces allegedly used live ammunition against demonstrators. Key details: death toll estimates vary widely. The Iranian government officially reported 3,117 deaths,
3,000?
while human rights groups and international media like Amnesty International and The Guardian suggest the toll is much higher, with some estimates ranging from 6,800 to over 30,000. Context: the protests were initially sparked by a currency collapse and economic hardship, but evolved into calls for regime change.
That's a lot of fucking deaths, bro.
Security forces utilized a near-total internet blackout starting January 8th to mask the scale of the violence, which included mass shootings in cities like Tehran, Mashhad, and Karaj.
Jesus Christ.
Why should we believe what Muhammad has to say when he came from a pagan background and only had a Cave of Hira experience? In other words, given the reasons for why you were skeptical of Paul's revelations, why are you not skeptical of Muhammad's revelations for the same reasons?
Okay, because Paul actually made false prophecies. He himself also in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 believed that the end of the world was near and that he himself was not actually going to die before the end of the world. So he made false prophecies. He didn't do miracles. We believe that the Prophet Muhammad made actually true prophecies, performed miracles, came with genuine revelation that actually corrected the biblical.
Yeah, it's sad to hear, but I didn't realize there was so many deaths from the protests.
Errors and so on and so forth. So we have good independent reasons for believing in the revelation that the prophet came with, but we don't have good independent reasons for believing that what Paul wrote was revelation from God or just his own musings.
So there's an issue with this question again. So Jake earlier pointed out that there was basically no evidence for Paul saying that it was just Paul himself, but that's not true. He himself admitted that that we have other sources, like the Acts of the Apostles, for example. We have the earliest Christians, the earliest known Christian figures who all affirmed Paul's teachings. The earliest Christians practiced exactly what Paul taught.
They didn't.
So, and then he presented as a disqualifying factor, but then he also doesn't apply this as a disqualifying factor to Muhammad because he has to add another factor, which is that Paul made false prophecies.
I want to give Jake the last word, and then we'll have to wrap up. So go ahead, Jake.
Just quickly, they didn't all affirm Paul's message. In fact, they were meant. I know it's hard, man. You keep interrupting. I never did that with you. Listen, Paul was at war with the so-called Judaizers of his time, and we know, and critical scholars know this, that there were Jews who continued to be Jews, who believed that Christ was the Messiah, and still actually practiced the Torah up through the 4th century, okay? And Paul taught against that. He said, if you want to get circumcised, and you want one part of the law, you got to uphold the whole law, and you got to cut the whole thing off. And I think I know what I'm talking about.
We'll conclude with that point. We are going to... Would you join me in giving a round of applause for our speakers? That was...
It might make me feel weird when go different ways, but serum overnight, you're home insane. And center like the one, every day I love.
They're not gonna, it's the whole thing. Whatever, man. This game is exactly what we want.
This game is looking like it.
Yeah, you show it all the time. Worst deaths ever recorded in medieval history. Tony Robinson confronts ethno-nationals outside the United
This is all gonna be right here.
No amount of money.
History remembers kings, knights, and saints, but it rarely lingers on how their stories ended. The agony, the spectacle, and the final moments that turned death into legend. The medieval world was no...
This is all gonna be right here.
Hey, excuse me. I've come to report, yeah, that's what I do, I'm a journalist. I've come to report to a wider British public what's happened here.
Where was you in Wolverhampton? Yeah.
Where was I in Wolverhampton?
Yeah.
I do a lot of things, I have a full-time, so.
You weren't for the first trial, was you?
How many all I'm come here to do is to raise awareness to a British public. They're going to watch my video to inform.
We live it, mate.
Okay.
We live it.
Okay.
We live it a lot longer
So,
than you.
would you rather I didn't talk about it?
No, I haven't said that.
Do you not want me to report it? I'll tell you what you need to do. Rather than challenge me, why don't you go challenge the mainstream media who lied about this case? Rather than come up to me, I'm here to do a report.
I'm one of the family and I'm glad it's here.
I got one weirdo. So fuck off, Sean. Crybaby bitch boy.
I've come here today to report on the case of Rhiannon White, who was murdered, butchered by a Sudanese migrant 23 times. And that's what I wanted to talk about. And I've come here to highlight to you, the public, so this video could get shared, to raise awareness to the British public around the globe of what's being allowed to happen to British citizens. That's what I come here to talk about.
And it's funny that you're still a subscriber, Sean. Please unsubscribe. You're a fucking weirdo.
Now, I've been confronted and then had to have a discussion about other politics and other discussions, and told I shouldn't be here and at the start. And when I got down to the root cause, you're going to hear the conversation, but the root cause of the reason why they didn't want me here is Zionism. That's what it comes down to. Yeah? You spoke up for Israel. They didn't have a problem with me talking about Iran, don't have a problem about me talking about the Kurds, and this is a growing trend that I see. Yeah? So I see this quite a lot. And so I had a conversation, which, to be honest, I'd rather have not been having outside this case of Rhiannon White. I come here to report for you about the murder, tragic murder. We spoke to the mum, we spoke to the family, a child without a mother and father without a daughter. We come here to report on that. I had to have this conversation, and I think it's good to have the conversation, to ask the questions of what's the difference of what I'm saying and why do they have a problem with what I'm saying. People calling me a traitor and a race traitor. So I'm asking them, do you want to deport everyone that's not white? No. I can't understand what the problem is here, yeah? But you can listen to the conversation and see what you make of it. Can I just ask you a question so I understand?
Yeah, answer me a question.
Yeah. Would you rather I didn't come?
No, I haven't said that. I haven't said that.
You seem like you were saying that.
No. I just wanted to ask a few questions, that's all.
You said I'm exploiting it.
Why are you?
Am I?
You know why? I mean, not
expecting Are you?
Well, I ain't you on mine.
But I'm here to report. Yes, and no one said so. But the point is, so I want to try and reach the British public with what's happening.
Yeah.
So I've come here.
And that's fair play to you.
So what was
that's
the problem?
Fair play. What's the problem?
Yeah.
But don't you understand that by you being here, right? By you being here, well, everybody's now circling around you. That's all. So the press now, it's all going to be it's all going to be about Tommy Robbins.
So you're worried about the press?
No,
it's all about Tommy Robbins.
So did you listen to the family?
She's so dumb. How Lewis 6.
Picture this. France, June 16th.
McDonald's is putting value back on the menu, which means make a meal and save. Extra value.
Fuck McDonald's. Fuck everything about them. Am I allowed to say that on here?
Picture this. France, June 1672. The early summer light rests on the gardens of the Chateau du Genitoy, but within its walls there is no celebration, not the kind that befits the birth of a prince. When the infant is finally presented, whispering courtiers shift uneasily in embroidered slippers. The child is too still, too quiet, and his body already curves in a way that troubles the midwives. A noble family expects vigour, not subtle deformity. From his first fragile moments, Louis César de Bourbon carries no triumph but an inherent vulnerability. Born the second illegitimate son of King Louis XIV of France and his mistress Françoise Athénise de Rochechouart, he enters a world accustomed to power but unprepared for chronic physical frailty. Before we dive in, quick reminder, subscribe and let me know in the comments which corner of the world you're joining from. Now let me take you back in time. Take your seat. in the glittering court of the Sun King, where majestic portraits hang in vast galleries, echoing with applause and ceremony. The sight of a bowed torso and uneven shoulders goes unnoticed only in its subtlety, not its consequence. Courtiers exchange glances they do not dare explain. From birth, Louis Caesar's body does not reflect the promise that surrounds his royal bloodline. His spine is malformed, twisted into a crooked column that will never support his frame with ease. Contemporary descriptions, later interpreted by historians, suggest congenital kyphoscoliosis, a severe curvature of the spine that produces a hunchback appearance, with one shoulder higher than the other. The palace physicians, summoned immediately, record only what they can interpret through the lens of 17th century medical theory, an imbalance of humours, a defect in the constitution, divine will manifest in flesh. They prescribe treatments typical of the age, bleedings intended to draw off supposed excesses of bad blood, herbal concoctions that promise to invigorate but mostly unsettle the weak stomach of the child, and strenuous manipulations meant to straighten what in truth cannot be relined without modern orthopedic intervention. Instead of relief, these interventions introduce new pain and suffering, accelerating fatigue rather than alleviating it.
Jesus Christ.
By the time Louis Caesar reached his 8th year, his body had ceased to be treated as a child's body at all. It was now regarded as a problem to be managed. In the court of Louis XIV, where physical perfection was equated with divine favour and political legitimacy, deformity carried an unspoken weight. It did not merely inspire pity, it generated anxiety. A malformed body, even in an illegitimate son, represented disorder, a reminder that royal blood did not guarantee biological obedience. Physicians were no longer concerned with improvement. Their goal shifted toward containment. Louis Caesar's spine continued to curve inward, the distortion now unmistakable beneath layers of tailored garments. His shoulders sat at uneven heights, his head slightly forward, as if perpetually bracing against an invisible force. Prolonged sitting caused pain. His breathing became shallow during exertion, the constricted shape of his torso limiting the expansion of his lungs. Servants noted that he perspired excessively even at rest, his face often pale, damp and drawn. These signs were not interpreted as systemic stress. They were attributed to weakness of temperament, a constitution deemed inherently flawed. Court physicians escalated their interventions. Bleedings were scheduled with increasing regularity, justified by the belief that excess humours were accumulating in the upper body, contributing to pressure and distortion. Each session left the boy weaker, lightheaded, and nauseated. Leeches were applied along the spine and shoulders in an attempt to draw corruption away from the malformed bones. Herbal poultices, warming, aromatic, sometimes caustic, were bound tightly across his back, intended to stimulate circulation and soften rigid tissues. Instead, they inflamed the skin and deepened his discomfort. Attempts were made to correct his posture through mechanical restraint. Wooden braces and stiffened garments were fitted to his torso, designed to force alignment through constant pressure. The devices were crude, unforgiving, and painful. When worn for extended periods, they restricted movement and breathing, leaving Louis Caesar gasping, dizzy, and trembling. Physicians interpreted his distress not as a warning, but as resistance, the body, in their view, struggling against necessary correction. The response was not relief, but persistence. The devices were tightened, worn longer, and enforced with greater discipline. Contemporary witnesses hinted at even harsher measures. Madame de Caylus, a close observer of Madame de Maintenon's household, later wrote that she had heard Louis Caesar endured as many as 13 cauterizations along his spine, deliberate burnings intended to draw out corruption and force correction. Such procedures were not described in medical detail, but their purpose was clear: to inflict pain in the hope that pain itself might realign what nature had misshapen. At court, appearances were carefully curated. Louis Caesar was dressed impeccably, positioned strategically during public events, his deformity concealed behind heavy fabrics and careful staging. He was not excluded, but he was managed. His presence was tolerated, so long as it did not intrude upon the image of royal harmony. Observers noted his silence. He spoke little, not from lack of intellect, but from exhaustion. Long audiences drained him. Bright halls and prolonged standing caused visible strain. After such appearances, he was often confined to bed for days, his body trembling with fatigue. Madame de Montespan remained deeply involved, oscillating between fierce intervention and
Yeah, I like this channel. I've been let me see this. This channel is called Rotten Ages, and they got a bunch of cool videos about like how the royals like went out of their way to hide their deformed children and shit and their retarded kids and stuff. It's pretty interesting.
Quiet despair. She summoned additional physicians, including surgeons reputed for treating skeletal injuries in soldiers. Some proposed aggressive manipulation, forceful repositioning of the spine, while the child was restrained. Others suggested prolonged immobilization, believing that enforced stillness might allow the body to reshape itself. None acknowledged the irreversible nature of congenital skeletal deformity. All agreed on one point: something must be done. Doing nothing was unacceptable. Religious remedies multiplied alongside medical ones. Relics were placed beneath Louis Caesar's pillow. Priests were invited to bless his chamber, to pray over his body, to intercede where medicine failed. The boy endured these rituals passively, his faith less relevant than his fatigue. He did not protest. He rarely cried. His suffering was quiet, internal. Servants noted that he slept poorly, waking often, shifting carefully to avoid pain. Sometimes he pressed his small hands against his back or neck, as if attempting to support his own structure. By adolescence, the cumulative toll of intervention had become undeniable. Louis Caesar's growth was stunted. He remained small for his age, his limbs thin, his chest narrow. His endurance was minimal. Walking any significant distance required assistance. His balance was uncertain, his gait cautious. Periods of fever began to accompany his physical decline, episodes of weakness that left him shivering beneath layers of blankets. Physicians attributed these fevers to humoral imbalance, aggravated by cold air or dietary indiscretion. They prescribed further purges. Dietary regimens grew increasingly restrictive. Foods believed to produce excess phlegm or black bile were removed. Meals became sparse, bland, medicinal. Broths replaced solid foods. Wine was diluted or withheld entirely. Louis Caesar's appetite faded, not from choice, but from chronic discomfort and nausea induced by treatment. Weight loss followed. His already fragile body grew more gaunt, his face hollowed, his eyes large and shadowed. No one described this as nutrition. It was framed as purification. At court, whispers intensified. Some suggested that the boy's deformity was a sign, the consequence of illicit union, divine judgment made flesh. Others spoke of inherited weakness, a flaw passed down through bloodlines strained by excess and indulgence. Few acknowledged the simpler truth. A child born with a severe congenital condition was being subjected to interventions that his body could not endure. The language of the time did not allow for such clarity. Instead, suffering was reframed as inevitability. Louis Caesar himself became increasingly withdrawn. He observed life rather than participated in it. Lessons were shortened or abandoned altogether. Tutors reported that he tired quickly, struggled to concentrate, and often asked to rest. His world narrowed to his chamber, his caregivers, and the unending cycle of treatment. He was no longer expected to improve. He was expected to persist. By the time he reached 10, the court had quietly adjusted its expectations. There was no future role envisioned beyond ceremonial presence and ecclesiastical titles. His body had declared its limits. The question was no longer whether he would be cured, but how long he could be sustained. The interventions continued nonetheless, driven by habit, doctrine, and fear of inaction. To stop treating him would be to admit defeat, and defeat in the court of the Sun King was unacceptable. Yet beneath the rituals, beneath the remedies, a biological truth asserted itself. Louis Caesar's body was failing not because it lacked correction, but because it was being relentlessly pushed beyond its capacity. Each bleeding drained strength, each brace compressed breath, each purge stripped reserves. What remained was a child reduced to endurance, bearing the cumulative weight of medical certainty that was anything but certain. This was not yet death, but it was no longer life as it should have been. The slow collapse began, not with sudden illness, but with years of misunderstanding imposed upon a body that never stood a chance of conforming. By the time Louis Caesar entered his 11th year, the distinction between treatment and harm had effectively disappeared. His body no longer responded even temporarily to intervention. What once produced brief stabilization now triggered visible collapse. The spinal deformity that had defined his childhood began to compromise functions beyond posture alone. His breathing grew increasingly shallow, restricted by the rigid curvature of his torso. Physical exertion, even sitting upright for extended periods, left him breathless, his chest in quick, inefficient motions. Physicians interpreted this not as respiratory compromise, but as nervous weakness. The remedies continued unchanged. Episodes of fever became more frequent. They arrived without clear cause, rising suddenly and leaving him drenched, trembling, and exhausted. His pulse during these episodes grew rapid and irregular, surveyed that his skin alternated between burning heat and cold clamminess. At times he had confused, his gaze unfocused, his responses delayed. Physicians debated whether these symptoms reflected corrupted humors or exhaustion of vital spirits. Bleeding was prescribed again. Each session left him paler, weaker, and increasingly unable to recover. The mechanical supports imposed on his body became a source of constant distress.
Yeah, so they would just torture the shit out of their own kids, or like hide them away. When they weren't like when they weren't torturing them, they would literally just hide them from public life altogether in like a monastery and change birth records and shit like that. It's pretty wild.
Pieces were tightened to counter worsening curvature, restricting movement and compressing the already compromised thoracic cavity. When the devices were removed, his muscles trembled uncontrollably, as if unable to support his own weight. Walking required assistance. Standing unaided became nearly impossible. His head tilted forward and slightly to one side. An unconscious adjustment to chronic discomfort. Sleep, once a refuge, became fragmented and shallow. Pain was now a constant presence, not sharp but oppressive, a deep, unrelenting pressure along his spine, neck, and shoulders. Louis Cesar rarely complained openly. Instead, he grew quieter, withdrawing further into himself. He spoke less, ate less, and increasingly avoided movement altogether. When encouraged to sit, stand, or walk, he complied briefly, then collapsed into exhaustion. His body no longer had reserves to draw upon. Medical opinion at court fractured. Some physicians argued that continued intervention was pointless, even dangerous. Others insisted that abandoning treatment would hasten death. In practice, neither camp prevailed. Treatments were neither intensified nor meaningfully reduced. The boy existed in a state of medical inertia, subjected to ritualized care that no longer aimed at improvement, but the language of the court avoided the word terminal. Instead, his condition was described as delicate, unstable, uncertain. Dietary restrictions tightened further. He struggled to swallow at times, coughing weakly as liquids went down the wrong way. Physicians attributed this to nervous agitation. No one considered that prolonged weakness and structural deformity were interfering with basic neuromuscular coordination. By early adolescence, Louis Cesar's world had narrowed to his chamber and a small circle of attendants. Public appearances ceased entirely. He was no longer presented at court functions, no longer positioned strategically to maintain the illusion of health. He had
Looking to stand out in today's job market? Southern New Hampshire University can help. With affordable career-focused grad programs like psychology, cybersecurity, and our MBA, you'll gain...
I don't know. Oh yeah, I'm a little tired, I guess. Time to take a little rest.
To do it alone. I really mean that too. Visit snhu.edu today to get started.
Try 3D White. Finally, a daily whitening toothpaste for whiter teeth in one day.
NFDP needs more donors, people, and the donor we need could be you.
What's so special about Shake Shack's cooking?
It's actual cooking.
Today's special, the cake.
You might be tempted to let Taco Bell's new Lux Value menu go to your head, because 10 indulgences for $3 or less makes you feel fancy.
He had become an uncomfortable reminder of physical failure in a court built on spectacle and control. Madame de Montespan visited frequently, her presence marked by increasing urgency and quiet despair. She questioned physicians, pressed for answers, demanded assurances that never came. Some offered vague optimism, others avoided specifics altogether. None provided clarity. The cumulative effects of years of bleeding, purging, dietary deprivation, and mechanical restraint began to manifest systemically. His immune resistance weakened. Minor infections lingered. Fevers, lasted longer. Recovery periods stretched into weeks. His body, already compromised by congenital deformity, could no longer compensate for sustained physiological stress. Sleep became irregular and troubled. He woke frequently, sometimes gasping, sometimes disoriented. Servants reported episodes where he appeared briefly panicked, clutching at his chest or neck, as though struggling against an internal pressure he could not name. These episodes passed, leaving him drained and silent. Physicians attributed them to nightmares or emotional agitation. By the time Louis César reached 12, his decline was undeniable. He could no longer sit upright without support. His neck appeared increasingly rigid, his head resting forward as though the weight of it had become unbearable. His voice weakened, growing soft and thin. When he spoke, it was often to ask for rest, for quiet, for the curtains to be drawn. Light aggravated his discomfort. Noise unsettled him. His tolerance for sensation diminished steadily, as if his nervous system itself were
From which
retreating.
state are you from?
The court had ceased to speculate about recovery.
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
They did not speak of death only, but the shift in demeanor was unmistakable. The question was no longer if, but when. Louis César, though young, appeared to sense this shift. He asked fewer questions. He no longer resisted treatment. He simply endured. What had begun as congenital fragility had been transformed, through years of misunderstanding and intervention, into systemic collapse. His body was not failing suddenly. It was surrendering incrementally, organ by organ, function by function. The treatments meant to preserve him had stripped away resilience until nothing remained but exhaustion. This was the final phase approaching, not yet the end, but the point beyond which recovery was no longer conceivable. By the final months of Louis César's life, illness was no longer something observed. It was something endured by everyone who entered his chamber. The boy who had once been described as fragile was now unmistakably dying. His body no longer maintained even the illusion of stability. He lay confined to bed, propped carefully with cushions to ease breathing that had grown shallow and irregular. His chest rose unevenly beneath the blankets, each breath a measured effort rather than an instinctive act. The curvature of his spine now dictated every position. Any movement caused visible distress. Fevers burned with greater intensity, arriving without warning, and lingering longer each time. During these episodes, Louis César drifted in and out of awareness. His skin flushed, and pale and clammy. His pulse fluttered beneath the fingers of physicians who recorded numbers, but not alter the outcome. At times he appeared lucid, gazing quietly at the screen, his eyes reflecting exhaustion rather than fear. At others he seemed lost, responding slowly or not at all, his mind retreating from sensation.
Alright, this is boring me. On to the next. The terrifying final days of Charles II. Jesus Christ.
In the autumn of
You got all these different stories about the deaths of these...
Picture a queen who...
The deaths of these royals.
In the autumn of 1700, the most powerful throne in Europe was occupied by a man whose body was already a walking corpse. Charles II of Spain, the last Habsburg ruler, spent his final in a state so horrifying that his own courtiers whispered he was possessed by demons. What they witnessed in those final days would...
Not today, though. It's, there's no rain here today. The sun's out. A little bit of clouds, but it's a pretty nice day here, actually. If I was in the right mood, I'd go on like a bike ride or ride my scooter around or something. But yeah, generally it is pretty wet here a lot of the time.
haunt European history forever as a dynasty that had ruled for centuries crumbled along with the rotting flesh of its final heir. The death of Charles II would not only end the Spanish Habsburg line, but plunge an entire continent into a devastating war that would reshape the balance of power for generations. Yet the true horror lay not in the political consequences, but in the grotesque spectacle of a human being slowly disintegrating while desperate courtiers performed increasingly brutal rituals to save both their king and their empire. This is the story of how centuries of royal inbreeding created a monster of human suffering, and how the final days of one man's agony changed the course of world history. The medical records and eyewitness accounts from Charles's deathbed paint a picture so disturbing that many historians have struggled to convey the full extent of his suffering. What you're about to hear is not merely the story of a king's death, but a testament to the devastating consequences of absolute power corrupted by genetic catastrophe. The Spanish court's desperate attempts to cure their dying monarch would reveal the darkest corners of 17th century medicine and superstition. The Spanish Habsburg dynasty had ruled one of the world's largest empires for over 2 centuries, controlling vast territories from the Americas to the Philippines. By the late 1600s, Spain remained a formidable power, but cracks were beginning to show in both the empire and its ruling family. The Habsburgs had practiced strategic intermarriage for generations, believing it would keep their bloodline pure and their power consolidated. Charles II was born in 1661 as the product of centuries of this deliberate inbreeding. His parents, Philip IV of Spain and Mariana of Austria, were uncle and niece. His grandparents were first cousins, and his great-grandparents shared the same disturbing pattern of close blood relations. By the time Charles was conceived, the Habsburg family tree had become so intertwined that he had an inbreeding coefficient higher than that of children born to full siblings. The Spanish court had long been aware that their royal line was producing increasingly unstable heirs. Charles' older brother, Philip Prospero, had died at age 4, and several other potential heirs had perished in childhood or infancy. The pressure on Charles to survive and produce an heir was immense, as the continuation of Habsburg rule in Spain depended entirely on his survival. From birth, Charles displayed the physical and mental disabilities that would plague him throughout his life. He could not walk until age 8, did not speak clearly until much older, and suffered from what contemporary accounts describe as an enlarged tongue and severely protruding jaw and numerous other deformities. His mental capacity was severely limited, and he was prone to seizures and fits of uncontrollable behavior. Despite these obvious disabilities, Charles was crowned King of Spain in 1665 at the age of 4, following his father's death. His mother, Queen Mariana, served as regent during his minority, desperately trying to maintain the fiction that her son was capable of ruling one of the world's great empires. The Spanish court became increasingly isolated and paranoid as neighboring powers began to circle like vultures, sensing weakness. The political situation in Europe was precarious. Louis XIV of France had been expanding his territory and influence, while the Holy Roman Empire under Leopold I sought to maintain the balance of power. Both monarchs had legitimate claims to the Spanish throne through their Habsburg connections, and both waiting for Charles II to die without an heir. The question of Spanish had become the most pressing diplomatic issue in Europe. Throughout Charles II had been married twice in desperate attempts.
That dude looks like my fucking, this guy I used to know named was Zach. Looks exactly like him. That's fucking weird.
There is a dark, deadly gap in England's history.
Oh no. England's fucked.
Being short-staffed, we all have to do a little bit.
On January 30th, 2000.
It's August 3rd, 1832. We're in Durham.
It's August 3rd, 1832. We're in Durham.
Where's the cat?
William Jobling stands on
She's
a
sleeping.
scaffold with a noose around his neck. He's 30 years old and a miner from Jarrow. Until today, he has been on strike for nearly 9 months. Now, none of that matters. In just a few short minutes, he will be dead, executed for a crime he probably didn't even commit. But the state doesn't care. They need Jobling to send a message to the miner.
That's right. No, that's boring.
Was no stranger to cruelty. It was an age when execution was not only punishment but performance, when faith, power, and vengeance could decide how a person met their end. From bishops burned alive for heresy to nobles drawn and quartered before jeering crowds, each death revealed more about the world that created it than the life it ended. These were not quiet departures, but scenes that seared themselves into memory. Tonight, those final moments, not to glorify them, but to understand the minds and beliefs that shaped an era where dying publicly was the ultimate form of judgment. This is the worst deaths ever recorded in medieval history. Under the vaulted ceiling of the council chamber in Constance, the smell of wax and parchment mingled with something heavier, the weight of judgment. Hundreds of clerics, princes, and scholars filled the hall, their eyes fixed upon a man in worn scholar's robes, his face gaunt from imprisonment but calm, almost serene. His name was Jan Hus. Once a priest in Prague, once a teacher at the University of Charles, and now, to those gathered before him, a heretic who threatened the order of Christendom itself. He did not kneel, he did not beg, he only stood, hands bound, listening to the accusations that had already decided his fate long before the trial began. The events that led to this moment began years earlier in the heart of Bohemia, within the echoing halls of Prague's Bethlehem Chapel. Here, Hus preached to crowds so large that people spilled into the streets to hear his words. He spoke not in Latin, but in Czech, the language of the common people, and this alone made him different. His sermons challenged not faith itself, but the corruption of those who claimed to defend it. He condemned the sale of indulgences, those printed pardons that promised forgiveness for a price. He questioned the authority of the Pope when it contradicted Scripture. His words cut through the ritual grandeur of the medieval church and reached directly to the hearts of those who had long felt abandoned by it. At first, his popularity protected him. Nobles attended his sermons, students wrote down his words. Even King Wenceslaus IV of Bohemia tolerated his growing influence, seeing in him a useful counterweight to the clergy who often challenged royal authority. But the church was a vast institution, and its patience had limits. When Pope John XXIII declared a crusade against Naples and began selling indulgences to fund it, Hus denounced the practice publicly. His defiance was met with excommunication. He was banned from preaching, but he continued. When the city of Prague came under interdict, its churches closed, its sacraments suspended, Hus left willingly rather than bring suffering upon his followers. It was an exile that marked the beginning of his end. He spent months wandering the countryside, moving from village to village, writing treatises that would outlive him. His words spread faster than any soldier could chase them, copied, carried, and whispered across Europe. His ideas were not entirely new. They drew heavily from the English reformer John Wycliffe, who had argued that Scripture alone should be the foundation of Christian life. But Hus gave those ideas a voice that resonated with a continent growing restless under the weight of corruption and hypocrisy. His writings questioned the divine writings and the infallibility of popes, for the powerful that made him dangerous. In 1414, when the Holy Roman Emperor Sigismund the Council of Constance to heal the great schism that had split the church into rivalries. Hus saw an opportunity. He believed, perhaps naively, that reason and scripture could defend him. Sigismund sent him a letter of safe conduct, promising protection and a fair hearing. With that assurance, Hus set out for Constance, unaware that his words would soon become the kindling for his own execution. The journey from Bohemia to Constance took him across snow-covered hills and muddy plains, through villages that both cheered and cursed his name. He arrived in November, tired but resolute. At first he was allowed to move freely, but within weeks he was arrested, his promised safety revoked. Sigismund's guarantee meant nothing once the church declared jurisdiction. Hus was confined in a damp cell in the Dominican monastery, shackled and left to contemplate the meaning of faith in the face of betrayal. The months that followed were a slow dissection of his beliefs. Interrogators pressed him to recant, to admit error, to bend before authority. Each refusal deepened his isolation. He was moved to a dungeon at Gottlieben Castle, where sickness and malnutrition followed him. Yet he continued to write long, thoughtful letters to his friends, students, and the people of Prague. In them, his tone was neither bitter nor broken. Truth, he wrote, is stronger than all. By the time he was brought before the council in the summer of 1415, Hus already understood his fate. The trial was no debate, it was theatre. Witnesses shouted accusations, bishops recited condemnations, and his every word was twisted into further proof of guilt. When asked to retract his teaching, he calmly replied that he would do so only if shown from scripture that he was wrong. The chamber grew restless at his defiance. To question the church's authority was to question the foundation of order itself. Sigismund, watching from his throne, shifted uneasily. The man whose promise had brought Hus here now said nothing. On July 6th, the council rendered its verdict. Heretic, defrocked, condemned. Hus was led away as the bishops stripped him of his priestly garments, layer by layer, each removal symbolizing the church's claim to unmake him. When they placed upon his head a paper crown painted with demons and flames, he smiled faintly. "My Lord Jesus Christ," he said softly, "for thy sake I wear this crown." The procession to the execution ground wound through the streets of Constance. Soldiers kept the crowd at bay, though many citizens wept openly. Others shouted curses. To some, Hus was a saint, to others, a traitor. The stake stood on a small rise outside the city walls, surrounded by wood piled high. A chain was fastened around his waist to hold him upright. A last chance to recant was offered. He refused. "I call God to witness," he said, "that I have never taught what false witnesses have testified against me." As the executioner lit the fire, the dry wood caught quickly. Flames rose around his feet, crackling in the early afternoon sun. Smoke billowed upward, carrying the scent of burning oak and flesh. Said he began to sing, a hymn in Czech that faltered only when the smoke filled his lungs. Witnesses later recalled his final words: "Christ, Son of the living God, have mercy on me." His voice faded into the roar of the fire, leaving behind only the sound of crackling and the murmurs of the crowd. Flames died down, his ashes were gathered and thrown into the Rhine, so that no relics, no shrine, no memory of a martyr could remain. But the attempt to erase him failed. Word of his execution spread quickly across Europe, carried by merchants and students who had once studied under him. In Bohemia, his followers were enraged. The Hussite movement took root almost overnight, a rebellion both spiritual and political. Preachers invoked his name from every pulpit, declaring that the church had murdered a righteous man. Hus's ideas became their banner, his death their rallying cry. Within a few years, the flames that consumed one man ignited a war that would engulf an entire kingdom. To understand why Jan Hus's death mattered so deeply, one must look beyond the pyre itself. It was not simply the execution of a heretic, but the collision of two visions of truth. The church claimed that authority rested in tradition and hierarchy. in popes, councils, and centuries of doctrine. Hus believed it rested in conscience illuminated by scripture. When those two worlds met, compromise was impossible. One had to burn. Yet what sets Hus apart is not merely his defiance, but his calm acceptance. Even his enemies remarked upon it. The chronicler Peter of Mladonovich, who witnessed the trial, wrote that Hus's composure unnerved the bishops more than his words. He seemed less like a man condemned than one already reconciled with his fate. That quiet dignity, more than his arguments, transformed him from a condemned priest into a symbol. In the centuries that followed, reformers like Martin Luther would look back to Hus as a forerunner, a man who spoke the truth too early. Luther himself later said, "We are all Hussites, without knowing it." The echo of those words reached far beyond Bohemia. They reshaped Europe's religious landscape, setting the stage for revolutions of faith that would change the world. Still, the story of Jan Hus is not only about doctrine or rebellion. It is about conviction tested to its limits. Imprisoned, betrayed, and condemned, he refused to yield because he believed that truth was not defined by decree, but by conscience. That belief cost him everything, yet it also gave him something no tribunal could take: peace. In the final letter he wrote from his cell, Hus told his friends not to mourn his death. "I trust," he wrote, "that after this fire I shall enter into joy everlasting." Those words, preserved on brittle parchment, speak with startling gentleness. He did not rage against his accusers or curse the emperor who betrayed him. Instead, he urged his followers to hold fast to faith, even if it meant suffering. When modern visitors walk through the town of Constance, they can still find a small stone monument marking the site of his execution. It is unadorned, a simple memorial at the edge of a quiet square. Few stop for long. The Rhine flows nearby, carrying with it the same ceaseless current that once bore his ashes away. Yet if you stand there long enough, it's easy to imagine.
I got fucking lost. This shit's hard to pay attention to. Kind of lightheaded. I need to eat sometime. All I got is burritos and breakfast sandwiches. I'm not really hungry for that right now.
He actually left the...
Can't wait for the sun to fully shine into my apartment. It's got to pass that tower, that skyscraper I'm in, and then it'll be right into my apartment. Tower of London's most gruesome.
In the aftermath of the Norman
Stringer crashes out over 0 to
43-year-old man cried.
This is gonna be hilarious.
43-year-old man cries about being featured on live stream fails after complaining about only receiving $20 for playing a video game for 3 hours and it goes viral.
Essentially, I had the best session of Call of Duty Black Ops 7 I've ever had.
Right.
I got the best Call of Duty game I've ever played, and you only gave me $20?
Yeah, bro, you're playing video games. Don't expect someone to give you money for that, bro.
My own teammate shot my own teammate in the back of the...
Dude, you're terrible.
Hey, that is not an exaggeration.
Is this the best one?
Yeah.
Is this his best?
Oh my god, every single match, I was in like the top 3.
The top 3 of what?
Deaths are.
Oh my god. And I have a positive kill death ratio. I don't even want to look at my kill death ratio because I know it's terrible.
Smart.
I know I'm doing awful. Sometimes.
Oh, so this is like a reverse revisionist history. Okay, got it.
Yeah, no, it's not that, but there's taking what he's saying now and comparing it to, yeah. I guess that's what it is. I said it wrong now.
Because I had 2 times, almost 3 times kill death ratio. I was absolutely positively tearing it up today.
Tearing it up. He killed that guy. It's pretty good.
That's not what I wanted to do. Richie.
Killed himself with a sentence.
Okay, got it.
Particularly with the LMG. What an idiot! He walked right by me. It sucks. My mouse hit the side.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. Y'all have watched me play Battlefield. Like, I really can't be talking shit. I just can't be. I cannot be talking shit on this. It's funny. This is funny, but like, I can't be talking shit.
In here, I gotta move. My
You're
mouse
better?
hit the side, and
I don't know.
But even when I was swapping to my
I'm pretty
ultimate
bad.
handgun to do that daily challenge, when I was trying to do things, just basically everything was kicking ass. Seriously.
You ever say you did well in Battlefield? Wow.
I can't see. Oh my god, that guy's just spraying and it wouldn't show his name, so I couldn't aim for him. I was going crazy. And the thing is, people that were there were cheering for me. Were like, yeah, good job.
Good job,
The
good job,
attendance was
Phil.
good. But during the entire time I
So you
played
had
Call of
good
Duty, that was
viewers.
3 hours.
Played Call of Duty for 3 hours. That's a long time.
The Black Ops 7 today, I only got like $20 of support. Wow.
Wow. That's fucked up, guys. That is fucked up. Who's not donating? Who is this? Like he played Call of Duty for you for 3 hours,
Come on,
and
guys.
he only got $20?
Just fucking donate.
That's like $8 an hour. No.
He played fucking Call of Duty for me. I will pay for it.
Oh, that's lower than $7 an hour. You want him to work for under minimum wage? This is fucking ridiculous, guys. I mean, this is basically theft.
That's not an exaggeration. It was like 3 hours of gameplay, $20 of support.
3 hours of gameplay for $20? Jesus, guys. This is bad.
That's not an exaggeration. It was like 3 hours of gameplay, $20 of support. No one supports Call of Duty. Seriously.
Wow.
It's bad.
$20?
It's to the point now where like
Nobody's getting money for
I've
Call
tried
of Duty.
playing Black Ops 7 so many times.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 different times, and it keeps just not getting supported.
Oh, the reason why I thought about this is if you waited for DSP to play a video game that's like really, really stupid. Well, I think of the dumbest video game that you could possibly imagine. Think about it being like Fall Guys. And every single time that he played Fall Guys, you donated $150. He'd be a Fall Guys streamer, and you would totally make him play. Oh my god.
Yeah. It's because the
And then, yes, exactly. Yeah.
the fridge doesn't work very well. I need to get it repaired. It's got this flashing light, so it's broken. So yeah, I gotta get it repaired. Just keep my tea in here. But the freezer still works, but I barely got anything in here either. So might need grocery shop tonight.
That's the reason why I was thinking of it.
I'm done with it. And the thing is, that's a shame. I had a great time playing it today. I really did.
I saw the grenade. It's pretty obvious that was going to happen.
I got better at it. I unlocked new things I wanted to try, like akimbo SMGs and.
No, I just haven't been eating as much as I should. I like meat mostly.
Other thing, I can't keep streaming this game.
That's cool.
when no one wants to support it.
It's true. I mean, really, if he's not making any money streaming the game, I mean, what are we doing here? There's obviously something that's wrong.
Yeah, I guess figure it out.
$20. He only made $20, guys.
I just can't. I'm sorry, you know. So after Black Ops 7 ended, we did DSP Tries It, the Shake Shack Korean barbecue menu that just launched, and I.
Really?
What is he looking this up? Come on. Yes. Oh my god. Can you skip this shit?
What want him to do? Starve?
Black Ops 7 ended, we did DSP Tries It, the Shake Shack Korean barbecue menu that just launched.
So you didn't even make your money back from eating the hamburger.
And I tried the burger, the chicken
$16, okay.
bites, and
that's probably at least $8.
The cheese and barbecue fries.
That's probably like $7.
This is
Let's say $6 or
hilarious.
$7. So we're talking about, I mean, so he had to drop probably $50 on this.
It's fucking hilarious. People just expecting to get paid. Like, come on, guys! I played Call of Duty and did a food review. Where's my money, guys?
But here's the funny part. I finished playing Black Ops 7.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I do that same shit too. I'm not fucking crying about fucking where's my money.
I start doing DSP Tries It.
Yeah.
Over $20 support comes in.
So wait, but now you only have $40. You're still in the hole. He's still in the hole.
So people supported in droves for the morning show, and then for DSP Tries It, but no one wanted Black Ops 7.
Nobody wanted Black Ops. Yeah, duh. Who gives a fuck about Black Ops?
So listen,
Yeah, and you were playing fucking Nuketown, the most overplayed map in history.
hear you loud and clear. That's enough for me. I'm not going to keep playing it if no one.
So he's not going to play it anymore. He should play Neo 3. He's not going to play it anymore because nobody gave him money to play it. I mean, I get it, right?
Really wants it and certainly doesn't want to support it. So that's.
And especially, I mean, like, but the burger is like a whole separate thing.
The last hurrah for Black Ops 7, which is a shame. Again, I like the game. I don't love it. I think it is one of the worst Call of Duties I've played.
Then why are you playing it? Why would you play? Why? So wait a minute. So you hate the game. You don't like playing it. Why are you playing it? What are you doing?
Good question.
I don't even understand this.
It's still silly fun, especially now with my new setup, being able to control it well and everything. Oh, I wasn't reloading. I wanted to throw my grenade and I hit reload. Son of a bitch. I enjoy playing it, but I can't make you guys like it. So I'm done trying. Okay.
So it's over. So you've killed Black Ops. That's it. It's
like
over.
one times, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times I've tried it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
5D
enjoy the final
chess, is that
gameplay.
it?
It's really good. You'll see me tear it up, get crazy,
Enjoy
go
the
and just go
final
crazy on
gameplay.
all the opposition.
Wow.
How'd I do? Oh, I had a positive tilde ratio. I didn't have that impression the whole game. I thought I was going to be doing terribly. I actually
18
did
and
good.
15.
All right.
That seems not. It's not very good, but okay. So
This guy's delusional.
So there's been an update to this now. So DSP will outlive all of us and still be begging for cash in a nuclear wasteland. Oh, it's time to get a job, Phil. People have been saying that for a decade. Somehow he always suckers his pay pigs into keep donating. I'll never understand the weirdos who this dude is able to extract so much money from. Seemingly everyone has a kink or a fetish. His most loyal donators are made of severely and mentally handicapped people donating their disability checks to him. I'm not even kidding. Who the fuck? How do we even know this? Nobody makes enough on disability to be floating streamers. I don't know about that. We've got to ask Nick Shirley. Maybe that's not true. In his defense, I wouldn't play COD for 3 hours for $1 less than minimum wage. Exactly. Phil will get a job when hell freezes over. Despite all his begging and crying for money, he makes $8K a month.
What?
That's $96,000 a year. That's an ass load of money. That's a dickload of money. That's a lot, man. Like, that's pretty good. That's more than me. What the fuck? So he's out there shucking for 20s. He's out there going around trying to get $20.
He makes more than Adam? What?
And he's on
That's
that grind
surprising.
so hard that he's making $8,000 a month. I mean, you gotta respect that. You do. I can't get over the fact that DSP leasing a BMW, running it for like 4 years without changing the oil, and then it broke down because of course it was going to, complaining that the company he leased it from never told him when to get an oil.
Gotta get his oil change every fucking short amount of time.
I love it. This is amazing. What a legend. Posting DSP begging just seems like cheating at this point. It's basically his entire shtick. Yeah, and it works. He's making almost, you know what? He's probably making 6 figures a year begging. If I'm watching a streamer and they complain about donations, it is an immediate unfollow and a guarantee that I will never watch them again. Wow, Huey. You're so cool. Oh, wow, what a badass. The man keeps complaining. There's YouTube channels almost bullying him, making compilations of him whining about the game that he's playing, when he's actually just dog shit at video games. He will show a pebble at a heavily armored tank in Ark Raiders and die while crying that it should be dead. Oh no. Okay, well anyway, there is an update to this. So he's mad that the clip went viral. Let's see the next update.
Understand something about Reddit, okay? People who sit on Reddit reading it all day are retarded.
He's right. True. W. Phil.
Alright? Clip this and put it on Reddit for me.
Clip this and put it on Reddit for me. Fucking alpha male, bro. Like absolute Giga Chad alpha male mentality. Clip this, Reddit. Alright, let him know. Bro, I really don't like that you said that, because now I'm not going to be able to not think that. He said, why does he sound like Ben Shapiro? What the fuck? What the fuck? Bro.
Okay? Hello, Reddit reader.
Hello, Reddit readers.
Alright? Clip.
You know why? You need to shut the fuck up. Okay? You need to stop right now. $50 of donations? I only got $30 of donations. What am I gonna buy with only $20 of donations?
This and put it on Reddit for me, okay? Hello, Reddit readers. Hi, everyone who sits on Reddit all day reading it.
Can't do that.
Normal people don't sit on
You cannot
Reddit
do
all
that.
day watching out of context crap and think that it's fact and talk about
It's
it
out
and
of
make it go
context.
viral. No one cares. You're a loser. You'll always be a loser. That's why you sit on Reddit all day. Enjoy your live
He's
stream
right.
fails. I'll sit here making
Enjoy your live stream fails.
on Reddit all day. Enjoy your live stream fails.
Base.
I'll sit here making content, making money, and
Yeah.
having a great time with my audience, and you can get bent.
Get
There you go.
bent.
Put that on Reddit.
You can get bent.
Reddit. All right? Cool. That's where it should belong. Right there on the front page of Reddit. Me telling...
And it is on the front page of Reddit. He did it. He's that guy.
Well, since I'm president, there's no limit to how much money I can get. I print the money myself, so it's unlimited.
them how it is.
Did you know the Walmart app has over 500 million
So trillion, zillion, dillion. A lot of decimal points. I don't know the exact number. Just know that I am extremely wealthy and I shit upon poor people. That's why I only eat the finest breakfast burritos in the nation.
Man. Doing this might raise his revenue. It is. The out of context card again. I guess since your interview, I do kind of like the guy. I do too. I do. I'm going to be honest. I really, and people got mad at me. So whenever the interview came out, like, so where is it here? I'm going to watch that in a bit, so I'm not ready for that yet. Asmon Gold, DSP, not DPS, DSP. So streamer crashes out for over 0 donation. Wait, so this is my video of him crashing out over 0 donations, and this is from 2 months ago.
Yeah, we don't call it a flat here. We call it a studio apartment. And it's exactly the perfect size for me.
Oh my god. I didn't realize that this is it's not episode 2. It's probably episode 30. Right? But like, wow. So now it's happened again. And
well, that's good. I'm glad.
I did the interview with DSP. So a lot of people were upset about this interview. I know you might not understand this, but I do. They were
Tell Trump I'm gonna need a raise.
Upset about this interview, and the reason why is because they were mad that now Phil, after this, got way more donations and way more support. He got like 1,000 viewers after this interview, and so all of this happened, and my viewers liked him. People liked Phil, and so the problem is that, you know, for all of his haters in this hater economy, now basically I broke the conditioning, and they were mad.
What was your favorite part about Biden's presidency? Did you like his transgender head of the military or whatever?
Because they're like, well, what the fuck is this? Like, we hated this guy, and now he's getting support, and it made him even more angry. And they were mad that I wasn't mean to him. That was a good interview. I'm not a mean guy. I'm a nice guy. And oh my god, he's actually incredibly fortunate to be interviewed by Asmongold. Man, there's a lesson to be learned here. Oh my god, the best thing that can happen to DSP, he doesn't deserve it. He's a massive piece of shit. Wow, Phil is hoping Asmon's millions of fans will head to his stream and pay his DoorDash. Yeah?
Terrorist.
Is that right? How about that? And wow,
he probably vaporized a bunch of terrorists. I agree with that.
Tractors, yes. And so they were mad that I did the interview with him. And this is me watching him from 7 months ago. Oh my fucking god. I've never seen this. I didn't see this. Give me a minute. We're gonna have to watch this. Asmongold versus DSP, an e-begging story. What the fuck is this?
Nice.
This is like watching two roaches fight over a churro. Give me my money! Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. The more.
What's on TV today? Hanged, drawn, and quartered, the most gruesome medieval.
Crowds once gathered in town square.
I like shit like this.
Crowd.
My country is finished. I think we're doing pretty well. Last time I checked, we can write whatever we want online, and we don't get jailed for it. How about your country? Let me check in on that.
Rested. Some victims were rebels who dared to challenge the crown. Others were accused heretics whose beliefs defied the church, and still others were nobles caught in webs of betrayal and shifting loyalties.
This is your country right here. These inbreds who fucking killed each other all the time. That was UK back in the day. Bunch of inbred monarchy doing mass genocide for centuries.
Each story is marked by brutality, each sentence carried out with a precision designed to send a message long after the condemned had drawn their last breath. Tonight, we will walk through these grim accounts of medieval execution, exploring not only the gruesome methods, but also the fear and power they represented. Settle in, let the world fade, and allow the stories of those who met their end on the scaffold, stake, to guide you into a chilling journey through history's darkest punishments. The first thing that Londoners noticed about William Fitz-Osbert was not his
London? Oh, governor.
wealth or status, but his voice. He had the sort of voice that carried through the narrow streets.
Cheerio, mate.
A voice that could be heard above the rattle of cartwheels and the clamour of market stalls. It was the voice of a man who could call people to listen, to gather, to believe. By the year 1196, that voice had become both feared by authorities and beloved by the poor, for Fitz-Osbert spoke the words they wished to say aloud but dared not utter. He was no obscure figure, born to a respectable family, trained in the art of law. He was well acquainted with the machinery of justice, yet he turned his skill not toward enriching himself, but toward defending those who had none of the protections enjoyed by the great merchants and nobles of the city. In an age when London was swelling with trade, when coins passed rapidly.
Alright, this is getting boring. I gotta keep switching it up. I got a real short attention span.
How to get a felony for $3.07?
That's smart. England is speed.
I think we might be finished as a country and probably...
Here we go.
I think we might be finished as a country and probably an entire...
He said it himself. We might be finished as a country. That's literally what you just said. That's fucking hilarious. And you said it up in your fucking accent. Let's get this back. Run that shit back.
I think we might be finished as a country and probably...
I think we might be finished as a country. We keep jailing our fucking internet shit talkers.
An entire continent. Plans in place to deliberately make the British countryside, quotes, less white. Now, wait until you hear how mental this is.
To try and
He's an idiot.
engineer it is racist.
Well, I think he has more facts than you, so let's check it out. Let's watch the video.
And even if you want to enact a racist policy, if it's to the benefit of people, then explain it. But they can't. It's just racism. Britain
Full show.
may be done, right? Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, are they done? And check the references, links in the description. We always have those. Maybe done because of a stagnant economy, because of an epidemic of rapes and stabbies, because of arresting thousands of people for wrongthink, or because of Keir Starmer fighting for his life after appointing one of Epstein's buddies to be the ambassador to the United States. Those would all be reasons that they're like, yeah, maybe they're in dire straits.
So yeah, you got like 4 big reasons right there on why you're fucked. What's up, Alexandred?
No, the biggest problem in Britain is that their countryside is too white.
Good evening. I think we...
Go send the Muslims, the Pakis, send them out into the countryside.
might be finished as a country and probably an entire continent. Plans in place to deliberately make the British countryside, quotes, less white. Now, wait until you hear how mental this is. The Chilterns National Landscape.
Now that's just mental. Mental? What the fuck does that even mean, bro?
Team has set out proposals that include community outreach schemes to attract more Muslims to the area, particularly from nearby Luton, apparently.
Show them the goats.
Recruit more diverse staff and publish advertising.
There's lots of 9-year-olds in the country.
Minorities and write them in, quotes, community languages. What, so adverts for the Chilterns in Urdu, Bengali and Arabic, is it? And they also want dogs to be kept under tighter control because some groups are scared of them.
That's good. Have more dogs. Okay, so let me ask you this. And I had these 3 points yesterday.
Yeah, I just hate the word. I hate a bunch of British words. Mental's up there.
issues on which I've never heard a valid counter-argument from the left. Can someone give me a valid reason that could be objectively sort of quantified? I don't know how, as to why. Why do you need more Muslims in the countryside? You have plenty of Muslims in the country. You've seen a drastic increase in the population of Muslims in the UK. What benefit is in the countryside to socially engineer this?
Yeah, the question is not why not. It's
why.
Why are you saying it needs this?
Right.
Why is it? Why it's missing it?
We went from, hey, why can't X race of people share a space with white people? Sure, that's the difference. We go, oh yeah, no, absolutely, because all human beings are fearfully, wonderfully created in the eyes of God. All men are created equal. Great, but you're saying we're not equal because you're saying there's a net positive. There is something with Muslims, these other cultures, something they bring to the English countryside that native English men and women don't. Can you tell me what that is?
Thank you.
Bomb fest. Could be. I don't know. I'm not coming up with anything, and unfortunately, they've had to revamp the whole country. They even had to rename the White Cliffs of Dover.
It's not very white anymore.
Just Cliffs of Dover. Same thing in Ireland with the Cliffs of Moher. It's Cliffs of Moher.
That's already the right color.
Those are the actual Cliffs of Moher, by the way.
It's on brand.
I saw them. It's not worth the trip.
Not just for that.
So, according to the report commissioned by the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, this comes, we're quoting the Telegraph here, the countryside would become irrelevant in a multicultural society as it was a white environment principally enjoyed by the white middle class.
Let me say this differently. The countryside would be incredibly valuable in a multicultural country.
I mean,
white people are in the country. It'd be amazing. Land prices.
What's also interesting is DEFRA's research was conducted under Dame Tamara Finkelstein, sister to Lord Daniel Finkelstein of the Nick Fuentes fame. Where he was on there with Pierce Morgan.
Like mess with Nick, yeah.
It's just kind of interesting to maybe understand some bias. And one of my favorite news hosts, by the way, you should go and support them, GB News. I think it's Patrick, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Christie's. Yeah. He makes good cookies. It's same. And the commentator, Benjamin Butterworth, they got into this.
Hello, Mr. Benjamin Butterworth.
That's enough out of you, Mr. Butterworth.
Is that a real name?
You're always Butterworthing.
English employed.
This is Butterworth. Everything is Butterworth with you.
Benjamin Butterworth is always spreading.
It's like if you were to go with a secret identity to like impress a bar, like, well, I'm from a place called England. Oh, really? Wow. What's your name? Benjamin Butterworth.
Butterworth. Let me churn a few things up for you. May I introduce you to my mother, Mrs. Butterworth?
Yeah.
She's black.
We're very sensual people, but our food is awful. Which means I'm hungry.
Try to appease their mushed.
So GB News' Patrick Christie's and commentator Benjamin Butterworth got into this tip, and just watch to the end because it's great.
I'll say it on record now. I think they're lying. I don't see. I've lived in the Lake District for a couple of years, 2.5 years. Firstly, absolutely loads of tourists from all over the world. So I do not believe. Why does someone say I don't feel welcome in Penrith?
I'm not sure the fact that Cumbria is inundated with Chinese tourists means that all sorts of communities in
Well,
Britain
you've been
feel
absolutely
welcome.
racist there, Benjamin, because they are Japanese.